Hello, everybody. Welcome into our latest broadcast. My name is Carey Holzman, and joining me is somebody who's abnormally tall. It's not that I'm short; it's that he's just like what's his name? Munster.
Herman Munster.
Herman Munster joins me, better known by his stage name, Mitch McCon. No, that's not Mitch.
Morrison.
More Mitch, ladies and gentlemen. It's more Mitch. Welcome in. Today is Tuesday, the 29th. Is it the 29th? It's the 29th.
29th.
Yeah, Thursday is Halloween.
Yeah.
Of October 2019, and we're going to do a build for you today. This is a build that's going out to, well, you'll see him in the chat room all the time, Madi. And Madi has ordered 2 previous computers from me. This will be computer number 3. I guess it's good to be a friend or family member of Madi.
Yeah. And
certainly good for me.
Yeah, and it's looks to be a good one. Good machine.
Yeah. So today what we're building is a machine that won't be used for gaming, although it could be if you threw a graphics card on it. But we're going to use the built-in video or the built-in graphics on the i7 9700K CPU with 16 gigs of RAM, which is only like $60 now. For this
good value.
2400 speed, which is plenty for what we're using the computer for. We've got the value in SSDs right now, in my opinion, which is the Intel 660p, 2 terabyte. This sells for about $200, and it'll get you about 2,000 megabyte read per second, read or write on that. A standard DVD reader-writer, because the person that is getting this computer still needs that. We're going to power it with probably one of the least expensive, best power supplies you can buy for the money, which is the EVGA 650W that you see here. It's not modular. It's like $54. It's a 2-year warranty. Now, EVGA has higher tiered and more expensive and better warranty power supplies, but we determined for this build that should be plenty. It'll be fine. Of course, to cool it all down, to keep the CPU cool, we're sticking with the tried and true Mugen 5. I'm glad to see these are back in stock everywhere. They're about $49 right now, and it'll fit pretty much every Intel and AMD socket out there that's available today, and some from years past. So if you've got something from years past that you want to see if that's compatible with, you just look up the specs and see the socket compatibility types. There's a lot of them. Hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Jan Giddings has contributed £4.99 and says, this is for Coke and cookies. Oh, right on.
Well, thank you, Jan.
So we've got, we just gave the dogs cookies when Mitch came in.
And, you forgot to mention our tried and true Corsair here.
That's right. So the Corsair 200R is this black case you see me work on constantly. I find that Corsair was really had a unique place in the market in offering something for non-gamers or people who want something that isn't going to look gaudy or embarrassing in a few years' time. With all the RGB lighting and glass panels and extreme paint jobs, I kind of feel like this is a fad that people are going to really be embarrassed about in the years ahead. So this is a tried and true timeless computer case which can hold everything, as far as I'm concerned, that all the other cases can, except as far as liquid cooling, you could only use like a single 140 millimeter cooler back here. There's not enough room at the top for liquid cooling. So I won't use this on a liquid cooled build for that reason. It's not well designed for that. But for all my business clients or people who are using their computers to make money, to earn a living, and to get work done, this is the case of choice. And unfortunately, it seems Corsair has stopped making this case. They're still available for sale. They're about $75 right now, and when the inventory runs out, they're all gone. So I've hoarded up on about 5 or 6 of them. And when they're done, I'll have to find something else. There's plenty of other great case manufacturers out there. It's really just a matter of finding one that has this professional look, reasonable price, 2 front port USB 3.0s up front, as well as the toolless ability to install up to 4 2.5-inch solid state drives and 4 3.5-inch mechanical drives without so much as a screwdriver. There is no other case on the market. Please don't send me your suggestions. People keep sending me, and I'm like, it doesn't have this. Oh yeah, it doesn't have that. Oh yeah, it's only got one USB 3 port. So you're not doing me a favor. We're like, Carey, did you check out this case? Yes. Yes. I've seen them all. And to find one equivalent to this at $75 or even at $100 or less just doesn't exist. They have glass panels, or they, like I said, they have one USB 3 and one USB 2, which is just one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Or they don't have toolless drive bays, or they don't hold as many drives. That's becoming less and less important as we move on to more M.2 storage anyway. So I'm hoping, my goal is that by the time I can't get these anymore, I'm just not installing mechanical drives anymore, or even 2.5-inch solid state drives anymore.
So get them while they last.
So if you want to be old school and keep that older technology, this case is very accommodating both with or without that. And then the other cases, like the 270R that Corsair claims is the replacement for this, takes away a lot of those features. It's still a black, generic looking business case. However, it's not as versatile. But that may become irrelevant anyway if we're not using those parts anymore. So, okay, so that's what we're building. And Glenn Davies has contributed $2 Australian and says, greetings to Carey and Lurch.
Yeah. And gang, the reason I am wearing this Toto shirt is because I am in mourning that my favorite band in the whole world, Toto, about 10 days ago played their final concert before retiring. So, yeah, I'm glad I got to see them on this last tour, got to meet them. And yeah, this is one of 39 Toto shirts, so I'll have to take very good care of them now. So
I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, Billy Joel did his last tour. Elton John's done his last tour.
Right, never say
Phil
never.
Collins
but,
did his last tour. Now he's back on tour. The Eagles had famously said that when
Yeah.
hell freezes over, they'll get back together.
Right.
Of course, now two of them are dead, so that
Yeah.
a reunion
Yeah.
might be a little difficult. But when they're all alive and well, they just might be a little burned out. You never
Right,
know.
right. So they deserve a break after 41 years. And
And if they come
yeah.
back,
Yeah.
their intention is not to come back. Right now,
Right,
their intention is we're done.
right. But never say never.
Never
So,
say never. Maybe, and
yeah.
I'm sure if they come back, you'll be there.
Yeah,
They know they'll at least sell one ticket.
yeah.
And when you go to their concerts, are they ever sold out?
In LA, Philadelphia was their last show. That was sold out, but yeah, there's always tickets. I mean, because their main fan base is Japan and Europe.
Big in Japan.
Yeah, and they got a brand new live Blu-ray coming out November 15th. 40 tours around the sun, so of course I've got my order in, and yeah, that was during a sold-out concert in Amsterdam, 20,000 people, and they recorded both a live album and a Blu-ray. And
When
so,
was this recorded? How long ago?
last year.
Just last year,
Yeah,
20,000 people came out.
Yeah.
Just for them, or was it like a...
Just for them.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
So, and I've seen some footage of the concert, and it looks awesome, so I can't wait to add that one to my collection.
I don't know if they're retiring in Africa.
No, Los Angeles.
Rick
so.
says after 50 years with no lineup change, ZZ Top still going strong. Yeah, but there's
Yeah.
only 3 people.
Yeah,
in
that's
ZZ Top.
true. Yeah, yeah.
It's not like,
Right.
how many people are in Toto?
There's
6, 8?
no, there's four, but then they've got other guys in there. So, yeah.
Nick says he saw Toto when they were here in New Jersey. Al has is providing me a link for the BIOS for the motherboard. Thank you.
Okay.
He's been here before. He knows that I'm going to be looking for that.
What do you normally do? You prep the
What do you
case,
open?
or what do you normally like to do first?
Oh, it's a direct download link he sent.
Oh.
So really, there's no right or wrong way. We can start wherever you want to start. Nick says, I missed you, Mitch.
Oh, thank you.
Axehead says, greetings from Spain.
Yeah. Remember, I spent a month, 30 days in Thailand. kicking around, just me and a backpack, and great trip, wonderful trip. So I would recommend it highly. Yeah.
Joining us from Greece.
Wow.
We have people from all over the world watching. Jesse watches us from Jacksonville, Florida.
Somebody asked, what GPU are you using? That's a very good question, but this has onboard.
Yeah, modern day
Rest.
CPUs from Intel and AMD, many of them offer an onboard graphics processor.
So unless you really plan on gaming on it, right? I mean, this will do 1080p fine.
Oh yeah, as far as
so
if you're using the computer for work, you don't need a discrete graphics
card.
This will power 2-3 monitors if need be, depending on what the motherboard has for outputs. It's still going to play solitaire fine, you know, those kind of games. It'll even play some of the other games, first-person shooters even, at a lower resolution, which probably wouldn't be acceptable to most gamers. But it's a complete waste of money to buy a graphics card if you're a business person,
right.
Or if you're somebody who's just not a gamer. Why would you drop that kind of coin?
Right.
For something that you won't experience any difference on. Like your Word is still going to open, your browser is still going to open the same speed, you're still going to be able to open your email and browse the web just as fast with the built-in graphics card as with a discrete one. The discrete one adds more money to the cost of the system, as well as another point of failure, another driver, another point of conflict, potentially more fans, more noise. Generally speaking, people don't want to spend more money and have more noise and have more potential problems.
Right.
So if you don't need it, save your money, save your stress, stay away from it.
And just 6 pieces to build your own machine.
Well, plus the case, right?
Yeah.
And we really don't need the DVD drive. I mean, we could even get an external USB DVD to read or write CDs or DVDs. But that's still a choice. Some people still want to go with DVDs. And
or Blu-ray. Yeah.
Or Blu-ray, yeah, for sure. I did one not too long ago with Blu-ray. Fewer and fewer people are renting or buying DVDs. Everything is streaming online now. So that's sort of an old person thing. When you're dealing with somebody ordering a computer that wants a DVD or a Blu-ray, in almost all cases, they will be over 40 years old. The younger generation sees no value in it, and the younger generation is more interested in playing games. So where they see an extraneous cost being the DVD drive, many people 40 and over see the extraneous cost being an overpriced, gouging video card that is in some cases more expensive than the rest of the entire computer added up together. So you got 2 different kinds of customers here, you know, and each one thinks the other one's ridiculous or disconnected from reality in some way. But the important thing is that we build the machine right for the customer. It's not for us to judge. The customer maybe a day trader with stocks. The customer may be a grandma at home wanting to be able to talk to the family in different places around the world. Need something reliable, quiet, and quick. And so ultimately, the only thing that separates when we're done here from this being a full-fledged gaming computer is just adding that graphics card. The power supply is enough to handle it. The motherboard certainly can handle it. This motherboard also has built-in Wi-Fi, and we're not adding any storage devices because, again, everything pretty much is being stored online now.
Right.
Everything is shifting. Some of the older people are either ignorant of it, like they don't know, or they like their system just fine and don't trust being online. The lack of information results in a fear or a justification to keep doing what they've always been doing. And that's fine. You know, that's why these parts are still available. That's why DVD drives, that's brand new. They're easy to find. People are still buying them. And for the other people, that's why graphics cards are made, because they sell a lot of money worth of graphics card. So it's very difficult to try and talk reason to either side because they just think their way's the only way. So anyway, that's the whole point of a PC, is that you can customize it to whatever your individual needs are.
And we got a second camera, so when we're ready, I will jump on camera number 2 and get you those nice close-ups that you like, and So I don't know. I kind of say we put the optical drive and the power supply in
So
first.
prep the case
Yeah.
first. David Starbucks contributed $5. Hey, thank you,
Thank you, David.
And Dale says the power supply, the storage, the cooler, and the case are the same ones I used in my build, and I appreciate the detail you give as you build a computer. I followed your videos as I built mine, and I love it. Right on, Dale. See? That's awesome. Let's see if I missed anything else here. I think we can start building. Randall Hill has contributed $2. He says, hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Randall.
It's Tuesday.
That's what's up. Heinrich Anderson has contributed 100 Swedish krona. Bill Leatherland says, good to see you, Mitch. Bill joins us out of England. And I think we're caught up. All right. Well,
So do you like to take off both sides?
yeah, let's get
Yeah,
the
so-
side panels off of there so that we can not have anything in our way.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, I'll put you.
Okay.
In fact, let me have you step around so they can watch what you're doing. And I'll get this little shoe out, this little door stop, and we'll jam it in there so that that case doesn't move.
Pull towards you.
There you go. Thank you. Just set it down over here.
Now, something that Carey and I were talking about, when I do a build, I use an empty egg carton to put my pieces in.
The screws,
Yeah, and
not your pieces.
yeah, well, the
Or maybe
part-
you are, I don't know.
the part, the parts of that we got to pull this side off. Okay. Give that to you. All right.
All right, now I want to remove that shoe so you can spin that around. Get that little cardboard box out of there.
Oh yes.
That's got all of our mounting hardware and screws for items designed to go in that case. You know how that comes out?
Is it this way? Yeah.
Yeah, you can take it out that way. There's a little tab you've got to pull on, just like if it was a hard drive. You remember how hard drives mount in here? There's this little tab right here.
Oh yes.
So if you pull on this tab and then slide it out, see there's little holes in the side of the box that hold it in so
Okay.
it doesn't move around in shipping.
Okay.
And then if we open this up, I'm on the delayed feed here, so I got to change that. Go ahead and just go dump that
Okay.
on the counter. And check the inside of the box. Make sure you got everything out of it, please. There we go. There's the live feed there.
Okay, what have we got? We got zip ties.
Just chuck the box.
We've got standoffs for the motherboard.
Yeah, the zip ties we will use. No, don't throw it away.
Oh.
I meant to throw it.
Oh, we'll throw it.
That was weak.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
So we shouldn't need these screws. We should only need those two bags.
I'll set those aside so we can put those in the
Yeah,
mother box.
all of
yeah.
this and that can go over there. And since this is motherboard prep, we don't need this just yet.
Yet.
So if we set that over there, and we'll set this over there. So now we have a nice clean workspace. I'll just put it up here. In fact, let me turn it this way. Let's see the name of it. All right. What's up, Lyle? What's up, my boy? So the only thing to prepping the case is going to be the optical drive, the power supply, and maybe a back plate, but I think that motherboard has a built-in back plate. We'll find out here in a minute. So
getting this out is very easy. Don't take a screwdriver and you'll scratch the case. It's very easy to pop that out.
show us.
Okay. Are there tabs back there? Or you just
Yeah,
pop
there's
it?
tabs, but you can just push it straight. He's just reaching in the case and pushing it out that way.
Straight.
And then just put that with the rest of the spare parts if you would, please. And then the optical drive is going to come in from the front. Anything that's exposed from the front gets installed from the front. You don't install it from inside, you install it from outside. So this drive, there's no retail packaging on it. There's no box, there's no instructions. It's called OEM. And OEM means you're not a typical consumer in the sense that you need all of that. It's just going to be in a landfill, and you'd rather save a few dollars and avoid all that unnecessary packaging. I've had some people that were so ignorant of this that they would say, oh, they sent me a used one, it's in a bag. No, it's brand new. That's how they ship in bulk without having the excessive retail boxing expense. If you want that box, do not buy an OEM of anything. OEM generally means you're buying in bulk and you don't want to be buried under a bunch of boxes. It could also mean you're a smart consumer who would rather save a couple of bucks on the product because it's not important for you to have a box, or in many cases even directions.
Do you want me to put the driver over here? So
yeah, we won't even use that. I don't even install it. Installing this is quite simple. I'll allow Mitch to demonstrate.
Toolless, which is beautiful.
No screwdriver or pliers, nothing's needed. He's going to slide that in there, and there's a little catch right here, and it's going to lock into two of the holes on the side. And sometimes if it struggles, you can kind of pull back, and
Until
it
you
should
click.
find, yeah, when the hole lines up with the peg, it should sort of fall in there. So you see how it keeps sliding back and forth? Right about there should be lining up. And
there.
it just required, this piece wasn't lined up perfectly. But now, it won't budge. And we'll still put a couple screws in there to lock it down because it's going to be shipped. If it was just, we're building it for the house, we wouldn't need to put the screws in because it's not going to go anywhere. So, all right, let me just get rid of that. Now the power supply. All these parts are brand new. This build is being filmed absolutely live. People want to know, what are the odds that you get a dead on arrival part or a part that's damaged or broken? Well, you're watching live with me, not only on this build, but on countless other builds I've done over the last several years. So if we have a problem with a part, it's the first we're seeing it. You're trying to emulate exactly what it would be like if you want to encounter this yourself. If you want to tackle building your own computer, I want you to see the entire process unedited and live, because that's the way you will experience it. So in the box for the power supply, we've got the documentation, power cord, which can go,
We'll need that later.
well, we're not going to use this one. I like to keep this nicely folded for the customer. Oh, it smells like paint. And then we've got the screws, everything else empty. So there's our power supply. Now, we can use either the screws that came with the case to install the power supply to secure it, or the screws that come with the power supply. I like the screws that come with the power supply. They're a bit bigger, sturdier. The only time I don't use the power supply screws is if they don't match the paint color of the case. But in this example, we have black screws and a black case, so we will use these screws. We will install the power supply with this fan facing down. It's going to suck air in from the bottom of the case. There's a filter down here. If you have a filter, you should be clearing that a couple times a year. Some people don't even know they've got a filter. And to be honest, if you don't clean your filter, you're better off without it. Because when that filter plugs up, you suffocate your system. I would rather your system had dust in it than your system be suffocated, but it was clean.
Did you want some close-ups?
Not just yet.
Yeah.
We'll do that with the motherboard. So I'm just going to set the power supply in. It goes underneath this metal tab. And I want to get it flush up against the motherboard tray, and then slide it fully back. And then we'll just put these 4 screws in, one in each corner. They go a little off from the corners. I'll just do this real quick. They go just a little bit away from the corners. So this one goes down here. Are we picking that up? Yeah. This one will go right here. This one will go right down here. Sometimes you may have to, this is why I don't tighten the screws, you may have to make some adjustment. And then the top one is going to go about 1 inch away from the corner. Now that all the screws have been started, I can lock them all down. This is a Milwaukee M4 cordless screwdriver that has a clutch on it, and the screwdriver will turn itself off when it hits the setting, which I have got now on the number 3 on this clutch up here. And that indicates to me that all the screws are tightened to a spec that I find to be not too tight, not too loose, except on the power supply. Because of the weight of the power supply, I want to make sure those screws are given an extra half a turn or so. If that power supply breaks loose in shipping, it will potentially destroy the entire innards of the computer as it gets picked up, the box gets picked up and dropped by the delivery people or moved from one truck to another. So that is not something I toy with. That's got to be good and secure in there because of its weight and size.
And installing it was just that easy.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much preps the case. We can take the, we can take this wire tie off of here. This is all of our front port umbilicals, which controls the front power switch, reset switch, the USB connectors, the headphone and speaker jack. We don't want to leave any wire ties in the system because they're made of wire, they get brittle, they break off in time, and then you have a piece of metal floating around, and it's only a matter of time before it gets behind your motherboard, shorts something out, and then it becomes bad times. So you always want to use nylon zip ties. And that's the last thing you do after you verify your system is working fast, reliably, and you're ready to put the panels back on it. Only then do you do your cable management. And it's not even important that you do it at all. But if you take a lot of pride in your build, you want to show it off to your friends, and you want them to look at it and go, wow, it looks so clean inside because you took care of your cables.
And I think we got some contributions,
Yeah,
so
I
you might as
see
well
that.
give some people a shout. Which mouse do you? This one?
I'm going to grab this one right here. See what we've missed. Ray Bowman's contributed $5. He goes, I drink for my favorite tech host and cameraman.
Hey, Ray.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ray. Alexander K contributed €10.99. Carey, on your amazing channel. Greetings from Germany. Greetings, Alexander. Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for the contribution. Prophet Jr. 1970s contributed $20. He says, thanks for all you do, Carey. Hey, thanks, guys. Chester Hughes contributed $2. And I think that catches me up with the contributions. I think I got everybody. So thanks, guys. Thanks for continuing to support the channel. I don't see Marty. Oh, there he is. There he is. I was like, he's usually in there.
Right,
While we're building his system. He's not in there today? All right. So, what are we doing next, Mitch?
Motherboard, I guess.
Motherboard. Are you ready to be put to work?
Yeah.
I'm going to move this aside so we have more room to work. Put this away. You good on a drink? You want something to drink?
I'll grab something when I'm.
All right. When you're damn well good and ready?
When I'm feeling.
Because I got mine. I'm starting without you. See, the problem is they can't see what you're doing right now.
Oh, okay.
And Monty's contributed $10 there twice. Hey, thank you, Monty.
All right, let's show them what motherboard
No,
this is.
the I/O shield's built on there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aorsis? How do you pronounce it?
What?
How do you pronounce it?
Aorus?
Aorus. Z390.
You're an Aorus.
Yeah, Z390 Pro Wi-Fi.
What's that one from Michael Mark?
Hi, Carey. Love watching your videos. €2.
2 pounds.
2 pounds. Thank you, Michael. Yeah.
Might be a little sensitive about that.
Yes. Shall we build on the box?
Yeah, let's build on the box. James Griffin has just contributed $5. He says, greetings from Alaska.
Wow.
Thank you, James. Just chuck it. And we need that plastic off of the I/O shield.
Oh, yes.
It's like wrapped in saran wrap. All right.
I'm really liking these built-in I/O shields. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think that every
yeah.
motherboard should be that way.
Yeah.
It's certainly
Clean.
removes
Look at that. Yeah. The
some
chance
of
of bending them.
some of the difficulty in building is removed. One less mistake to be made, or sometimes an area where people get frustrated, or you'll see people who haven't done it before. I think even you struggled with it, Mitch. The first
I did,
time
yeah.
you did it.
I bent mine. Yeah.
And we're talking about here is this piece is built on the board, and most boards, this piece is separate. It goes into the rectangular spot back here, right in here. And sometimes it can be a tight fit to get all four corners. And you pop one corner and the other corner comes out. It's no big deal for me because I've been doing it for such a long time. But for a first-time builder, that can be one of the parts they spend the most time on. Something that simple that doesn't require any tools or screws. It just fits in there with friction. And some people really struggle with it and get frustrated.
Now, did you want to put the M.2? What are your thoughts on that first?
I would put the
CPU?
M.2 drive in first.
Okay.
So here we've got the Intel, the 660p, and all the boxes have never been opened. Mitch has got to pull out a razor to cut the tape. And while he's doing that, I think I will grab camera 2. Mitch has done this, what's about 4 or 5 times, 6 times now, Mitch?
Something like that, yeah.
You went from never building a computer before to
No, yeah.
showing people how to do it online in 6 months.
Built 2 on my own, and
All right, let me switch to camera 2, guys. Hang in there for a second. Camera 2. Whoa. Okay, I think that's working. Hang in there for a minute. I have to see what I'm doing. All right, so Mitch has got the storage drive there. Okay. Yeah. I think that's the best value in storage right now. 2 terabytes, $200, and it's NVMe. So you'd be hard pressed to even get regular SATA at that capacity for that price, at a quarter of the speed. It's certainly not the fastest NVMe drive, but it's half the price of the fastest NVMe drive.
ooh.
So that's all packing material that can all just be chucked.
And there it is.
Yeah, and that's the $200 piece right there. Now, before you take it out of its plastic, we need to decide where we're going to put that on the motherboard. So looking down on the motherboard, you see we've got 2 places it can go. There's this one up here and this one down here. Now, me personally, I like to leave this one available because when this is mounted in the case and there's a bunch of stuff up here, but especially the big heat sink we're going to put on,
Okay.
it can get in the way of accessing this. So if we do it now, then if the customer wants to add more storage later, they can easily just remove one screw and add it very simply.
So what is it, a number? Is that a number?
So the screw you're going to take out,
is it number 2?
it's
or?
a number 1 Phillips, which is going to be, it's going to be one of those red-handled.
Red handle.
Is there a bigger one than that? That one's a little bit smaller. Yeah, you want. So if you look at if we see what Mitch is holding here, that little teeny tiny one's too small. The next size up is what you want, this one right here. And the reason we don't want to use the electric screwdriver is the tip on that is a number 2 Phillips, which is a little more blunt on the end, and it won't bite into the screw. So right now, we've got the motherboard sitting sideways. So if we turn the motherboard this way, and I'm going to see if Mitch can work backwards, because normally, if you're doing this, you're standing, you being the viewer, you would be standing where I'm standing. You would not be standing where Mitch is. Mitch is doing this backwards, but that's for your benefit so you can see the best angle. But Mitch, you need to take that screw out right there. That's going to hold this heat shield in place. Not all motherboards have heat shields, and they're not entirely necessary. But if an SSD gets really hot, it'll start to slow down until it cools off.
Good to have a magnetized screwdriver. Which is this one magnetized?
And the magnetism may have worn off a bit. So in that drawer where you're standing, there's a screwdriver magnetizer. It's that red square. It should be right in front of you. It should be right up in the front.
The red square.
Yeah, it's a big red.
Yeah, right here.
And if you slide the screwdriver through the positive slot, just slide it in there like a car going in a tunnel. Just run it through a few times. And now touch that screw and see if it picks it up.
Beautiful.
That's all it takes. Those are available online at Amazon or hardware stores, and I've got links to it in the video description. Look at the, there's a link that says, the Amazon store where you can buy things you see on my video. All the parts for today's build are also listed separately.
Okay, so now we gently lift this up and out.
Yep.
And as you can see, here there is a thermal pad
With tape on it.
with tape on it right here.
And if you leave the tape on it,
Very bad.
yeah, and you're defeating the whole point of it. The tape is there to keep it clean.
Right. But
until
we won't
it's-
take that tape off quite yet.
Not yet.
We'll set this aside. And this packaging always comes with little things to, don't bend it this way.
Well, hold on. We're getting a step ahead of ourselves because if you look underneath, there's no standoff that's been placed in either of the 3 mounting holes for different size SSDs. We want it in 80.
Ah, yes.
So that means in the motherboard box, there's going to be a small baggie with a standoff and probably another small baggie with a tiny little screw. So you hold that for a second. Let me get in here.
One-handed, yeah.
This way with it. So we definitely don't need this anymore. That's junk. And looking in here, we've got the Wi-Fi antenna. We've got the Q connector or G connector, whatever they're calling it. Should be. Ah, there's a standoff with no screw. Another standoff because there's 2 M.2 drives. Ah, all right. So we've got a standoff and a screw for 1 M.2 and a standoff and a screw for another. We're only installing one, so the extra pair goes back in there for the customer. And the customer will get this. We'll get this box with all the parts we're not using when the customer gets the computer. There's still more parts in here we're going to use later, but there will be leftover parts, and the leftover parts are kept in here. You can go ahead and put that motherboard back up on there if you would.
This way or?
That's fine. And then what we want to do now, turn it this way, is we want to take the standoff. So in this bag, there's a standoff. Take that out of the bag and put it into position labeled 80 or 80. These are for different lengths of solid state drives, but 80 is the most common length, 80 millimeter.
Yeah.
And the other standoff, that's for the heat shield. The other standoff that's on the motherboard.
Boy, that's tiny. There you go. No. I may have to switch with you. All right. There.
You can do it.
There you go. Just like that.
And then you can take the screwdriver and there's a little grooves cut out in the top
Oh,
of that
okay.
standoff so you can tighten it down.
But don't over tighten.
No, but you don't want it too loose either. Let me see. The idea is that you want to be able to secure the screw in top of it and not have it, yeah, that's not going to fit. I guess it's going to need a straight edge. The small straight edge ought to do it. Perfect. Thank you. So this other standoff is the other one I was referring to. That's what's holding that heat shield in place.
Okay.
Not the other one that's in the box. That's going to go underneath that heat shield, which has its own standoff, right? So there's a standoff for the heat shield and a standoff for the drive underneath it.
Okay.
So two different kinds of standoffs. You can even see they're different, kind of a different color.
Yeah.
One is,
Yeah. You want to switch and you install that?
sure, you want to come
Yeah.
over here and do this? I'll trade you.
Sorry for the seasick, guys.
I'll give you that. I love these because you don't have to worry about, make sure you're wide out. There we go. You don't have to worry about any cabling, right? Your power cable, your data cable, it's all built into this little end connector. It's all going to happen automatically. So we're going to open this up. I don't wear an anti-static strap because I don't handle the parts by their components or by their, like by the gold fingers. I keep I don't touch that. But if you watch the way I handle the components, you'll see that there's nowhere for static to go. And for that reason, I don't have to wear an anti-static strap. You can certainly wear one if you want to. There's no harm in it. It's not like it's going to be an issue if you choose to wear one. But these days, and with modern circuitry design, and of course, handling the parts correctly, it's really redundant. So that's our drive right there. You'll see one side of it's got sort of a half moon cut out. That's where the screw's going to go to secure it down right there. And then this side of it, like I said, that's the part we definitely don't want to touch. We can hold it by the sticker and by the back. We can hold it by the edges. What we don't want to do is make contact with anything gold. Stay away from the gold. Stay away from the silver. Don't touch anything gold or silver. So we're going to go right down in here, and this is going to slide in on an angle. Make sure I'm holding this correctly. There's a big camera in my way. There it is. Okay. And it kind of looks like a springboard.
Diving board, yep.
Yeah. And so what we'll do is in this other bag that we just pulled out of the motherboard box, there's a little teeny tiny screw by my pinky, if you can see it. And it's really super small.
You don't want to use this one?
That's that other screw that
Oh,
Mitch
it's
is
gonna
asking
hold-
is
is
going to hold the heat shield.
Shield,
on.
that's
Yeah, it's a different kind of screw. It's got a shoulder on it. So let me get this out of the bag, which needs scissors. It's a very, very tiny screw. Definitely not good to work on carpeting, not only for the anti-static issues, but also if you drop that little tiny screw, they can be very difficult to find replacements for, and it will delay getting your build done. So I'm just going to gently hold that in position.
Have you got enough room? Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. You're like, how close is Mitch? He's practically, he's right on top of it. Yeah, try not to drop your tools on your
Yeah.
motherboard. That's another good reason why that cover's in place.
Yep.
So in the meantime, that's all there is to installing the M.2 drive. That's 2 terabytes of NVMe storage. Now we can take the heat shield, we'll pull that protective cover off of it, and you'll see there's a tongue on it right here. And that's going to go into the groove. Don't have it touch your circuit board. The groove is above it and slightly recessed back. You're going to just kind of wiggle until you find it. There it is, it went in.
Yep.
And then just lower this gently on top until it lines up with the standoff that was already there. Now we'll grab the screw that we removed right? And that looks like that on the end of the screwdriver. It's got a little shoulder on it.
Okay.
And then that'll go right back where we took it out of. It's very simple. It's just like adult Legos. And this is about a $180 motherboard. So you can buy a cheaper motherboard than this. You can get them, you know, as inexpensive as, I don't know, under $100. But it affects the performance and the features. And so part of what I'm paying for, or what Madi is paying for on this build, is the addition of Wi-Fi and these heat shields, the built-in I/O shield. All of that comes with a higher price tag, but it's not excessively high. There we go. I just had to line that up better. And you're just going to turn that till it stops. That's it. It doesn't have to be super tight or anything. There's no issues there. And that installs our storage.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, nothing to it. And next, we can put the CPU in there, which we have back here. And you'll find when I am opening up boxes, you'll often find, like on the solid state drive box or the CPU box, one side of the box is sealed with a giant sticker, which is a pain to cut through. On the other side has a little sticker. So they want you to open from the side that's easier. Not that you have to, but you'll see the serial number and warranty information is here. And if you cut through that, you wouldn't be able to read it. And that's required for warranty purposes, although I usually throw these boxes out. I've never sent a CPU in for warranty ever in my entire life. It's never happened. If a CPU is broken, it's usually because of user error, some sort of mishandling of the CPU could cause that to happen. So anyway, that is the CPU. Get this out of the box here. Our documentation and Go Faster sticker are inside there. Don't need the box. Don't need that, it's all just cardboard. And that's our $360 CPU right here. So this is $360. The motherboard's about $180, and that storage right there we just put in, that's $200. Everything else is cheap. Or inexpensive, I should say. So we're going to lift up the socket right here, push down in a way to bring that lever up, and that exposes the delicate socket underneath, and that will take the CPU out. You'll see there's a white triangle right here, painted on the board, and there's a gold triangle in one corner of the CPU, right there. Align those triangles, put one over the other one, set it in one side, just align it with the edge, and then gently let it go. And it sits a little recessed into that socket. When we bring this lid back down, this spring, this lever is going to have a lot of tension on it now, whereas before it was super loose. And I'm going to push down hard on it and latch it underneath the metal there, and this plastic lid's going to pop up all by itself. Now, it's important we hold on to this plastic lid. Your motherboard warranty requires that this is reinstalled in its place if you ever have to take the CPU out, or your warranty will not be valid ever for the rest of the life of the board, because you will have, as far as the manufacturer is concerned, damaged or put in jeopardy the delicate pins that CPU is now pressed up against. And you would never send your motherboard back to the manufacturer with a $360 CPU in it, because they won't guarantee you'll get it back. So keep this little cover. Hopefully you'll never need it. So that installs storage and CPU. All that remains of motherboard prep is RAM, and then we'll put the CPU cooler on last. In fact, we might even just put the CPU cooler on after we mount the motherboard, because if you remember when we worked with this board before, I think you were with me, Mitch,
yep.
It's got these two EPS power connectors. There's an 8-pin and a 4-pin. Usually boards have one or the other. This one has both. I'm pretty sure a power supply isn't going to provide us with both. So we're only going to use the 8-pin. The additional 4-pin is when people are overclocking and they're drawing more voltage into the CPU. It can cause some lack of system stability. And so you add that extra additional power to increase your system reliability and stability when you are pushing more voltage through than it was originally engineered for. We refer to this as overclocking. For me, it's a point of diminishing returns. It makes things milliseconds faster that most humans can't really appreciate any difference of other than in benchmarking software. Maybe they see their frames per second go up a couple of frames because some software tells them it's happening. But if I asked a human being, tell me how many frames per second that is, they would not be able to tell me. Like if I showed you two different systems, one was overclocked and one wasn't, playing the same game with the same settings in the same scene, and said, how many frames per second, tell me. As a human being, you would be incapable of providing me with an accurate number. You could get in the ballpark, but you might be hard-pressed to know which one's overclocked and which one isn't. But be that as it may, some people just like doing it because they can. This will not be the case for the owner of this computer, so it's me being long-winded saying we're only going to use the 8-pin EPS power connector because that's all we need. We don't have to spend more money for a power supply to add another power connector that the customer's never going to utilize. But the money the customer could have spent is money the customer can utilize for something else. All right.
So you want to put the RAM in next?
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll go over here and go grab the RAM. Now on this board, I really don't think it matters which two RAM sockets you use as far as you skip a socket. So you can start here and skip this one and go here, or you can start here and skip this one and go there. You want to use every other RAM socket. So you can refer to your motherboard manual as it does vary from one board manufacturer to another. And I'm going to just open all of these retention levers up so they stay clear and out of my way for the install. Here's our RAM, brand new in the box. I'm going to cut the tape on it. We are live. Everything you're seeing is happening as we do it, just like life.
Show them the front of the...
These are two sticks. They represent 8 gigs each for a total of 16 gigs. Wow, Monty just contributed $50. He says, thank you, Carey and Mitch. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Right on, Monty.
I'm jealous, Monty, of this build. Very nice build.
Don't you have a birthday coming up again?
No, March, yeah.
It's like every year, though, right?
Yeah.
Sweet, you just had one.
Yeah. And that's my
And
main
we built that machine for you for your birthday.
Yeah. It's
Is it
working
feeling
great.
like it needs to be upgraded yet?
No.
I mean, compared to this one.
Right. Now show them how you're taking that out.
So
again.
there's so the way Corsair packages their RAM, you kind of have to put it upside down. It's a clamshell.
Okay.
One piece of plastic is like a Tupperware. One's over the other one.
Okay.
And so if you can see that lip right there, pull that off. And then the RAM just sits in here pretty gently.
Like,
it's pretty easy to just have it
do
fall
that,
out of there.
yeah.
Now, I don't want to touch anything gold, right? Any way I handle this is fine as long as I don't touch the gold. And there is a little plastic over there, company branding.
Not critical if you don't take it
Doesn't
off,
matter.
but
But it's there and it bothers me.
yeah.
You'll see there's a notch. That means it'll only go in one way. It's not right in the center. It's off center for that reason. And for the sake of showing you guys at home, I'm going to start with the RAM module closest to me. Because if I put it in here, then you won't be able to see
the
me,
next one.
right? And then once I've rested it in there very gently without force, I've assured I've got it in the right way because the notch lines up. Then I use my thumbs and I push down one corner and then the other corner, and you will hear them click and see these retention levers automatically lock. I don't know if you can get that camera on a little bit of an angle, a little lower, and we'll see if they can see those retention levers move. And that's 8 gigs of RAM installed. We're going to repeat the exact same thing. Again, I'm going to remove the plastic because it bothers me. I like it when people don't remove the plastic and then years later they sell their used hardware, and then I get it, and I get to peel the plastic off, and it's like brand new. Like, thanks for keeping it new for me, because I'm not going to keep it new for the next guy. Line that up, make sure it's in there straight, one corner, other corner, and then I will close the other retention levers, and that's 16 gigs of RAM installed. That's all there is to it. The last step is going to be the cooler. No, we're not going to do the cooler yet. We could put the back plate on, I guess, and then we can install the motherboard. But what I want to do is give Mitch a little bit of a break, and we're going to switch over to the main camera again so he can rest his arms. There you go. Let me help you out with that. Thank you. All right. Let's see what I've missed in the chat. And Madi's contributed $20. Hey, again, thank you very much, Madi. Looks like I might have missed other. John Yasuda's contributed $15. He says, here's money for pizza and beer after the build is up and running. Enjoy. Thank you, John. And did I miss anything else? Let me just take a look over here real quick. I want to make sure I've... Michael Martin contributed £5. He says, hey, Carey, don't forget that offer of fish and chips still stands when you get to visit to the UK. Hey, I would love that. I will definitely, if I get to the UK, which I hope to before I die, fish and chips is definitely what I'll be eating.
And since we have over 1,000 people, can I show them the photo of me and the boys?
Yeah, please.
How do you?
Oh, here, let me...
will it focus?
Go to the it'll focus. If you walk right up to there and watch the live feed, you'll see it'll... Keep going. Keep getting closer. Closer. Now hold it. Raise it up a little bit. Tilt it a little. No, tilt it back. Oh, you touch your phone.
I touched the phone.
And it should... got to hold it real steady. There, it focused. Now you just got to get rid of the reflection from the tilt.
Oh. How's that?
Who's the tall, goofy guy in the middle? Is he the drummer?
That's me with the boys. Woohoo!
So that's you with Toto.
Yeah.
I am Toto. Right on. I'm jealous. You've got one with you and Alan Parsons, too.
Yes. Yeah.
I shook the man's hand and told him he was awesome. I'm sure nobody's ever done that before.
And I think I shall have that Coke now.
You want a can or do you want a bottle?
Oh, a bottle's better than a can.
It's right in the door.
Yeah.
Mitch has been here long enough. He knows his way around.
Yeah. I even know where the opener is. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Along with everything else that's in my pipe that I'm smoking?
Yeah.
Is that healthy? And vaping now.
Horrible, but I like it. All right.
It's horrible.
No, it's
Get out of my house.
Yeah, it's great.
How dare you insult me under my own roof.
Well, and I kind of like Carey said on either yesterday's build, where even if it's your first build or your fifth, don't rush. I mean, take your time. Savor the building experience, because like he says, once you finish one and it's up and running and the pride that you're going to have, you believe me, you are going to want to build another one right away.
Everybody says it.
Says that. Yeah. So take your time. Don't get flustered, and it's not tough. I was a nervous wreck for my first build, but I went slow, took my time, and was great when I powered it on and it didn't blow up. You know what I mean?
So, I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're with ISIS. I'm just looking through the chat to see what we missed while we were focused on that. Those close-up shots of the board prep. Samuel Kowalski says, Carey, I love your videos. I hope to see more Mitchin builds. I agree.
While I plan my next adventure, I don't know. I guess the Philippines is where I'd like to go next.
Is this the last time we're seeing you with long hair?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes,
Mitch
it
is going to
is.
get his hair cut.
On
This is a major announcement. You've been
Yes.
growing your hair for like
11 years.
11 years.
So come Friday,
Buzz cut?
no, not a buzz cut,
No.
but just,
Can I do it?
yeah, you want to do it right now? Why?
Where's
You
my
know?
scissors? Careful.
Yeah.
I might just do that. And then we can sell your ponytail.
Yeah, or you can donate it to the,
The cancer?
the locks thing.
But you're actually not going to cut it that far, are you?
Yeah,
Or you are?
yeah.
So you are going to donate your, or no? You're on camera now.
I wasn't planning on it, but
I think you have to
can.
go somewhere special for
Right,
where they can do that.
And so,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've had long hair only for about 10 years, and it's limiting the acting roles I can go out for. They won't cast me as a doctor or a lawyer.
But they just put a wig on you anyway.
Well, yeah, but they'd rather not. I'd rather, and it kills me because the first 5 minutes of my stand-up act was with me with long hair talking about how everyone thinks I smoke a lot of weed, which I don't, and
Just a little bit then?
so no, and so it's if I have to, I'll get a long hair wig, but I'm kind of ready for a change, and so I'll cut it, and hopefully I'll still look the same. Hopefully.
Variety in life is, I think, is a good thing, and I don't have the patience. My hair gets an inch longer, and it drives me crazy. It just requires too much maintenance, too much work.
Yep.
So, why anybody would voluntarily have their hair that long just seems like a whole lot of trouble to me.
Yeah, and here, as the folks know in Phoenix, it can get to be a balmy 112, 113 in the summer, and so it's...
That's the other thing I was going to mention is when I get my hair cut, when it's only like, say it gets down to about maybe there, especially in the summertime, it feels so much better.
Right.
So much better. Right. I can't even imagine what that's got to be like.
Right.
It's like you're always wearing a hat.
Yeah. So I'm going to visit my 92-year-old father for Thanksgiving this year, and
Where's he in
he lives in Denver, and he's been bothering me for years to cut it, and so I'm going to surprise him with short hair, and I'm sure if he does in fact recognize me, the shock alone may kill him. So yeah,
Heart attack.
Or I walk into his room and who are you? So,
Or that just could be 92.
yeah, that's
And
true.
may have nothing to do with
yeah.
A live haircut is what they're suggesting.
Oh,
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
yeah. That would make my stylist jealous. So there you go.
The stylist who you haven't seen in 11 years?
No,
I guess it's still been...
No. I go to her for just a trim.
Oh, okay.
About every
All
5
right, just
weeks.
maintenance.
So,
All
yeah.
right. So it's not like you're... All right, I got you.
But she thinks I'm going to chicken out on Friday. She's like, I know when I get the
You've been
scissor.
talking to me about
yeah.
this for some time.
Yeah,
This is not
yeah.
this is not an impulsive
No,
decision you're making. You've given it a lot of thought.
Yeah, I'm ready for short hair. That I am. And again, like Carey once said, what's the word? If you miss it, just start growing it back. So it's not like she's going to cut it and it would never grow back. So I mean, if you really miss it, it would take a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean,
but
if it's horrible, I'm the one who's going to have to find a new guest. I mean, I'm the one you should be worried about.
Right. Or I get the long hair wig. So.
It's one of my favorite. Comedian Anthony Jeselnik tells that joke. I just think it's so cruel. It makes me laugh. My girlfriend came home crying. I said, "What's wrong?" She goes, "Oh, look at my haircut's all messed up." And I'm like, "Well, it's okay, baby. It's not a big deal. Your hair will grow back. You should feel bad for me. I'm the one who's got to get a new girlfriend now." It's like, ouch, ouch. I couldn't resist. I had to use it. Anyway, props to Anthony Jeselnik. I don't like stealing somebody else's material without at least letting him know.
No.
Hey, I'm taking this.
Yep.
I didn't ask for permission. I'll ask for forgiveness.
Yep.
All right. I don't know, I haven't been sleeping well. I feel really tired today. And I was tired yesterday. There was, at the Acronis Cyber Summit, there was Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank there.
Yep.
He says on average, he has trained himself to do between 4 and 5 hours of sleep.
It's not enough.
He had read somewhere that if you do the same thing over and over for 30 days, it becomes a habit. And he tried getting like 3 hours of sleep. It wasn't enough. It just wasn't clicking. And then he tried it again, and he found he can do about 4 to 5. And he said, they said, you look tired. He goes, I am tired. But he said, I would rather be tired than poor. And all I could think of was, you're doing pretty good now, Robert. I think you could sleep in for a while.
Give yourself a treat and go to 5, maybe 6, and
it's so ingrained in him,
Yeah.
and he's so busy, right? This is a guy who's on Shark Tank. He's running his own business, plus the investments he's making on Shark Tank. He flies to Miami to give a presentation, and he's back on the plane. He clearly doesn't need the money. Whatever they were paying him for this presentation, he doesn't need it.
right.
But listening to his insight was pretty interesting.
Did he talk for an hour? About an hour? 40 minutes?
Yeah, well, he talked for about 45 minutes, and then they interviewed him for about a half an hour. Sort of had this couch discussion. And then, he showed up maybe 20 minutes before he was to go on stage, and he left the building within 10 or 15 minutes having finished, and was probably on the plane on a private jet somewhere to the next place. I just don't know how long I could personally keep that pace up at any cost or at any profit. Yeah, and he's a few years older. I think he's 50. He's older than me and he's younger than you.
Yeah.
He's like right in the middle. And clearly he's had some work done. He looks the same. He's been on TV for like 10 or 15 years.
Right.
He did that Dancing with the Stars where he met his wife and has 2 kids with her. It was a very interesting, and he's a tech guy. That's why it was interesting, because he comes from a tech security company. Anyway, something going on here in the chat room I might have to correct. There's some pretty sad people, when you go into the chat room and you see somebody gets pleasure from causing people, I don't know, discomfort or drawing attention to themselves. I'm just so glad I'm not them. I'm so glad I don't see life that way, because I just feel so bad for them. So every once in a while, we get these people in the chat room, and they're so ill. Whenever I see that now, I feel so glad I'm not that person. I'm just like, no matter what I think of myself, at least I'm not that.
Yeah.
Christopher Raybone has contributed 5 pounds. He says, Carey and Mitch, it's always good to see you both doing a build.
Well, thank you.
That's kind.
And we better finish this up so old Uncle Carey can go and take a nap. Because he's tired.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I, of course, got
I want to do the head nod thing?
I, of course, got a solid 12 last night, so leave me alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going to bed at midnight and waking up at noon.
Right.
Sun's out.
Yeah.
Day's warm.
I like the night. I'm a night
Mail
owl.
should be waiting for me if the mailman did his job. No, I'm a night person too. I'm usually not in bed till 2-3 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm about 1:30 myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice being an adult.
Yeah.
Sometimes I eat dessert first.
Yeah.
My justification in Phoenix, though, is the days are so hot.
Right.
I like to do the majority of my work at night when there's less traffic, and I don't have to interfere with the employees. I had an email come in at 6 o'clock at night on Sunday, 6 o'clock in the evening, from one of my retainer clients who said, I accidentally deleted a folder off the server, and it contains all of the work of the current case I'm working on, and I'm hoping you can get everything back. I just spent a whole bunch of time on it, and I'm sweating bullets right now. Please help me. Well, not only did the backup go through Friday night, Saturday afternoon the backup was made. The Synology NAS that we're using for storage has a built-in recycle bin, which I've never had to use before. It's invisible.
Which model Synology are you using?
It's like a
DS
918 or
Plus,
218.
yeah.
I think theirs is a 918. But I've been switching over to 2 drive arrays now because the drive size, before we needed more capacity, but now you can buy a single 14 terabyte drive. So
Right.
just buy 2 of those and put it in RAID 1.
Yeah, is that a 4-bay NAS?
The
you
one
think?
they have is a 4-bay,
bay.
so I think that's the 918. I personally use a 218, but the software
Right.
is all the same.
Same.
So anyway, I I logged into the router as administrator, and you can do some maintenance tasks like, I thought, well, I'll defragment the array, and it'll do that while it's still being used. It just slows it down. So I was like, I'll defrag it while I'm in here and let that kick off, and open up the file explorer. There's the recycle bin. There's the directory she described. I just recovered it right back to where it was. I didn't get this email till 3 hours later, so it was 9 o'clock at night by the time I saw it. So I'm doing this at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, which I don't expect to hear from my business clients then. But anyway, I wrote the employee back and I said, everything should be returned, the entire. She kept saying file when she meant folders. She's like,
folder.
She said something like, I've got a file and it's inside of this other file, and then it's got also some documents, my documents. And I'm like, hold on, shouldn't be saving any of your documents on your computer. You're saying you erased my documents? And I thought, instead of asking her, because this is email, I said, let me just go look and see. And sure enough, there were some documents and photos, everything related to a case file in this folder that also had other folders. And she just kept saying everything was a file. So she wasn't using the proper
Terminology.
terminology. That's all right, I understood what she meant. Recovered it all back, which was like super easy with this analogy. Didn't even have to use any backups, which we had. And I said, please check it as soon as possible to let me know if anything's still missing, because I still wasn't clear that her email wasn't referring to another file location. I said, when doing data recovery, time is of the essence. So as soon as you have a moment, please check to make sure everything's back. And she was like, wow, even the last changes I made are still in there. You're amazing, thank you. And I was a hero.
Instead of a 0.
Well, I used to use those Seagate NASs, and they didn't have the recycle bin on. Well, they had it, but in order to enable it, like you had to set it up right from the get-go with it. You couldn't turn it on halfway through. And anyway, it was a big pain in the butt. So this was much, much easier. Never had to utilize the recycle bin or had to recover anything from it off the NAS before. And like I said, we had backups too. So either way, we were covered.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to think, I was testing myself, like, is there any situation the customer could have called me with regards to data status where I would not have been able to provide the answer? I have got everything, every possibility is covered.
Right.
And that's how you get tested, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to make or break. If you fail, let me put it to you this way. If I said, nope, too bad, so sad, I have a suspicion the boss would have said, why are we paying you? What do you do for us? This is why this is all a part of it. And again, I don't expect my Monday through Friday business clients to contact me on a weekend, let alone an evening of a weekend, for something so critical.
Yeah.
But because I'm a night person, that's the time I actually prefer to work.
Yeah.
And because I'm self-employed, there are no weekends. Every day's a working day. But it sure is nice when you get that weekend,
I've got a Synology, the DS918 Plus NAS.
Yeah, that's what they have.
4 bays.
That's it.
That's where I load up all my movies and then run it into the screening room. So I think I've got about 1,000 movies on there and TV shows, and it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about backing up, because
Yeah.
movies and TV shows, you can get those again. And even then, it doesn't really make sense to house that stuff anymore, because it's mostly all available on Netflix or Hulu or
Right.
Prime. And
Right.
this data hoarding stuff is.
But I've got a lot of hard drives, that are kind of where I put all the movies on those before putting it on the NAS. So I got quite a lot of them in a drawer. But
That's
just
a very
for safe,
old school.
school.
That's a very old school mindset. I think the kids coming up in this generation now won't be storing anything on their own.
Right.
Certainly not movies or music.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a whole bunch. You've seen my CD collection, my
Yeah.
music CDs. I don't know what to do with them anymore. I can't tell you the last time I played a CD. But it's like a collection. I feel like it's wrong to get rid of it.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's taking up space in my house and collecting dust and has to be cleaned. And
Right.
how much longer? It's got very little value now. And I can go to Zia Records and trade them in. But I'll get a fraction of what I paid, and if I hold on to them, they probably will eventually have no value at all.
Right.
So I've signed up for Spotify myself and put up with the ads, and then I just decided, you know what, for $10 a month, it's not even, I like to be able to skip as many songs as I want, which they limit when you're getting it for free.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear any more ads. And now when I hear a song that I want, like I can be walking through a store and hear the music playing and pull up Shazam. Shazam will hear it, identify the song, and then I push a button, it adds it to my Spotify library. Done.
Nice.
I don't have to make a note and go, I got to go home and try and find the song and download it.
Right.
Because it's getting harder and harder. What ends up happening is people end up ripping the audio from a YouTube video.
Yeah.
And in many cases, these artists know that, so they have dialogue or the sound of car tires or
Right.
something added. So when you hear that versus what's being played on the radio, it's a little different.
Yeah.
It's almost like back in the day, like when you and I were growing up, and you'd want to record the music with your cassette recorder
Off of the radio.
off the radio, and the damn DJ would talk on top of the
Of
beginning,
course,
right?
yeah.
The song would have an intro, dun, 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 and the DJ's like, and they're all coming up today at
Right.
5 o'clock. Be sure to listen, and we'll be, and this is Toto, hold the line, and then right when the song starts, the lyrics, it's interesting. Like the song didn't matter until it's not rude apparently to talk on top of the musicians,
Right.
but it is rude to talk on top with the singer.
Yeah.
No, it's totally rude, and it would ruin the song. Every time you'd play that song back, you'd hear that damn DJ. Fifth caller's going to receive and you're like, geez.
Right.
So that's what YouTube has become. You know, they've added things in many of the videos, the music videos, that are sort of a way to kind of push you to want to pay for the song, so you don't have to hear it. Anyway.
Well, should we backplate it?
Yeah, I think putting the backplate on for the cooler
we'll-
should be the next
Next,
logical
and
step.
we'll get close-ups, which is very nice.
Let's take a look real quick at. So we'll make sure I've addressed everything in the chat.
Well, we've got 1,104 people watching.
You know, there are people, and it does bother me. There are people that go, "Oh, you've got movies, you must have stolen them." Like there's this automatic assumption that no, you didn't possibly own the DVDs and rip them. You pirated those. It's like, well, that's a heck of an accusation to make to somebody you don't know.
Yeah. No, I bought them all with my own own money.
I had a customer who was buying.
It's just I was hip deep in DVD cases. It was getting,
can't find anything.
it was getting ridiculous. So
No,
I decided to.
It's just something I saw in the chat room that bothers me.
Yeah.
Like to just make that assumption says more about them than it says about you. But I will say that it's regardless of like when a customer calls me and they have a problem, that's not my job, right? If you were looking for mass storage, I'm not going to say, well, what are you storing? It's none of my business. Or where did you get it from? It's not. You want to know what's going to hold this capacity, what's going to make it easier on my life. That Synology 918, it's great.
Well,
Great
and it was
Mac.
so nice at night there in Thailand. If I'd come back from dinner or a few cocktails before going to bed with my laptop and Wi-Fi, I could tap into my home and watch these things before going to bed. I mean, it's just great to have them literally either on your phone or a laptop at your fingertips. So it kind of made me, being in a foreign land, not understanding the language, a little bit nice to be able to pull up a comedy or things like that and enjoy. So I recommend people network attached storage and NAS. They're great.
Ben Fitzpatrick's contributed $2. Says, "Hey Carey and Mitch, always enjoy your builds, guys." Thank you, Ben.
Well, are you ready?
Oh, I think I've had enough of the distraction here.
Here.
Still tired though. I just want to look through the chat to see if I'm missing anything. Gary, is it not necessary to remove the sticker on the solid state drive? No, you should be leaving the stickers on the solid state drive. That's your only identification for model number and serial number. There's this concept that if you leave the sticker on the solid state drive that the heat transfer isn't as good. But the heat transfer is, you can measure the heat yourself with and without the sticker. It's almost not noticeable. In fact, the heat shield doesn't even need to be here.
That's what I was about to say,
fully
is
optional.
you really don't need
You
it.
don't
I
even
mean,
need it,
you don't
but
need it.
It doesn't hurt to have it. It does
Right.
cool it down a little bit.
Right. But if you've got plenty of fans,
If you remove the sticker because you want better cooling and then the drive dies under warranty, the only way they have to identify that drive is by the information on that sticker. So as long as you're able to put the sticker back on, that you've saved it somewhere and you can peel it back off and restick it, if you can't, it's going to look like fraud to them.
Right.
That somebody has changed the stickers out on this. So for warranty purposes, I would leave the sticker on. It really doesn't make a big difference in the heat transference whatsoever. Or if you're somebody who really cares about stuff like that, you can buy an M.2 NVMe drive that has the heat shield built into it and buy a motherboard that doesn't utilize these, which is pretty much most motherboards don't utilize these. Provide your own. And then the manufacturer has the sticker for the serial number and part number already designed into that package. But that's why you wouldn't do it. The drive is $200, and that's a cheap drive.
yeah.
So to remove the sticker for an issue that doesn't exist, only to have that, turn out that you can't manufacture one under the warranty now. Although I've never had a bad SSD.
Yeah.
So probably could remove the sticker without any cause or concern. However, Murphy's Law, that'll be the one, right?
Well, let me show the people who are either new to the channel or joining us what we're going to use to cool this thing. Let's see if we can get that in focus.
Just hold it still. The camera will adjust. It looks pretty in focus. I mean, you can raise it a little bit, bring it a little bit closer. Yeah. Almost there. Raise it a little higher. And then just back up. There it is, just focused. That's the Mugen 5 from Scythe. It's a very easy cooler to install. It's a very effective cooler, very quiet cooler, and priced under $50. That's a heck of a bargain.
Yeah, and it just works great. I was an old for years, and I think Carey too. We were an old Evo 212, Hyper 212 for years and years, and liked it till suddenly this came out, and we put it on and tested it, and we're like, boy, this thing is quiet, and it really cools.
Yeah, Scythe had reached out. I'd never heard of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll check out your cooler.
And both Carey and I'm not big on liquid bills at all. I just think it's a vanity thing. You put liquid in a machine, it is eventually going to leak. It's going to plug those tubes, whether they're glass.
It may not leak and it may not plug the tubes, although that's possible. What usually happens is the pump dies.
Right.
But then you have no idea. All you know is the machine's getting hot.
Right.
Mark Y contributed $3.05 and says, grab a glass bottle of Coke on me.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
I'll finish
was that?
my current one.
Why use a NAS when you can use a cloud service? Well, ultimately, if you've got a lot of data all the time, it gets expensive, right? So you've got how many terabytes on your Synology?
12.
So that's what mine is. I've got two 12 terabyte drives. And for me to pay for 12 terabytes on Google Drive,
Would be
it's like $3 a month for 200 gigs. And that's 24 times that,
yeah.
right? So if it was 24 times $3, it'd be $75, $100 a month, 12 months a year, $1,200 a year. Well, for $1,200, I can buy the Synology and the two drives and have change left over and have no further expense for many years until the drives need replacing.
Yeah.
So it's also an issue of speed. I don't have gigabit internet service, or is it gigabit? Yeah, I've got 300 megabit download and 30 megabit upload. So for me to be transferring these YouTube videos with the length these are, this has been going on for an hour and 25 minutes, you and I. This is one of over 800 videos. I need a way to store them locally quickly. I need to be able to get them quick. I can't video edit off the cloud. It's too slow. We will get there.
Yeah.
We will get there.
Yeah. And again, I've got 4 3 terabyte NAS hard drives in there, so that's 12, but one of them is redundant, so then that puts me down to 9 usable, but that's great because if one goes bad, I slide it out, slide a new one in, let it rebuild, and I have not lost anything. So that's the great thing about network attached storage is if you have that 1 or 2 drives redundant, you are always covered, which I like. You're never going to lose anything. So.
All right, I think we're pretty well
Caught up. Okay.
I think. Targo says that sticker on the SSD makes it go faster. It's a go faster sticker. See Stephen Bernstein's join us and Carl Wilson, CCTV user, Torgo Zero, the Surly Sasquatch, Alice DePage. Catherine Anna Hauserman joins us along with Jay Toy, Gabriel Granados. John Mallory, Reverend John O'Toole says, let Mitch build the computer. You don't want to do this part yet, I can tell.
Yeah. How do I get this off? You push the thing
I had
down.
a number of times I've heard that question.
Yeah. Push the blacky thing.
You push this down. And
Very
slide this
technical.
at the
Yeah,
same time.
very technical.
And that locks it.
Okay.
And then we'll open the
Yeah.
door, open the pod bay doors, Hal.
And then
We'll turn the camera on, and then we're gonna move over to camera 2. You ready, Mitch?
wait so they don't get seasick. Okay.
Wow, the colors on that are completely
Yeah.
oversaturated for some reason.
But this is so easy to install. I mean,
Yeah, especially the way we're gonna do it now, as I've learned. Let me set my drink back here. So in the box, right here, let's move this over here. Are we wide out? Is this as wide as this camera goes? Yeah. All right, so here's the box that the cooler comes in. This cooler is regularly $49 on Amazon and Newegg. And inside, they even give you a really nice screwdriver. Mark has again contributed $3.05. It says another glass bottle, so you can both have another. Thank you, Mark. I'm still working on mine right now. I needed ice in mine earlier today. It's hard to get ice in the bottles. This little black box contains all of the screws and parts, including that screwdriver. It's hard to believe there's a screwdriver in here. It's right there. I feel like a magician. Look how big this screwdriver is.
yeah.
Like, you're like, how did that come out of that tiny
box.
box? This is a great
Screwdriver.
screwdriver. I mean, forget everything else. This is a good screwdriver. My only complaint is that I wish the handle was just another inch bigger. But
Is it magnetized?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all ready to rock and roll. And then everything else in here, we're going to dump out right here. And make sure there's nothing else in the box, and we'll just get rid of it. So there's the documentation. Now there's still some other stuff in here, which I'll get to in a minute. Let's talk about this stuff down here. So this is the back plate. We have to use this. The back plate has foam pads on one side, and that's the side that's going to go towards the motherboard. So we are going to use this. Do you see these? They kind of look like parentheses. These brackets kind of shaped like a parenthesis.
Right.
These are for AMD sockets, so we're not going to use these. So, extra parts. There's straight ones. These are used for Intel, so we do need these. We need to be able to hold the fan on, and that's what these little wires are for. And they give us 2 extra ones if we want to add, at additional expense, as an option, another fan at the other side, which I never do, but that's what those are for. We're not using these. So 2 we use, 2 we don't. This is all parts for adding another fan, which we're not doing, so we don't use any of that. Scythe very generously gives us a lot of thermal compound. And then we've got the standoffs and the mounting screws for the brackets. So in here, the standoffs and the brackets can all be installed now before we put the board in. And we just will wait for the rest of the heatsink till after the board's in the case. Because this little connector, if you move the camera, this little connector right down in here is going to be very difficult for me to reach if this big heatsink is over it, and then the case is wrapped around it.
Then you have to break out the forceps.
Then I have to break out a hacksaw.
Yeah.
No, then I usually have to take the motherboard back out.
Right.
So I've been learning the hard way, which is the way I typically learn, to start prepping this a little differently when I'm using a large heatsink like this. So you'll see we've got two different sizes of standoffs. There's these big ones and these little ones. Now these little ones are for the Intel socket 2011. And so we can take those out. We want the tall ones. There's 4 of those. And then there are these 4 screws, and those are used to hold these brackets down, which connect to the opposite end of the top of the standoff. So I'll show you, it's really simple. In the meantime, what you see over here is a growing stack of parts that we would use for AMD or socket 2011. It's all explained in the documentation, which covers, as you can see here, LGA 2011 and 2066 use the same. Flip this over. It's all just one page, by the way, for each set. 775, 1150, 51, 55, 56. That's what the X is for. Anything that starts with 115 on the Intel side, and then 1366, that uses all the same instructions. And then when it comes to AMD, it'll do at the top here AM2, AM2 plus, AM3, AM3 plus, AM4, FM1, FM2, FM2 plus. That's a lot. So you don't see Threadripper on there. It's not designed for Threadripper. You don't see Xeons on there, although I suppose it would work with a Xeon. Anyway, when I said it works with a lot of modern chips, like pretty much all of them except Threadripper, except for the super, super high-end stuff. Now let me show you how easy this is to put on. I'm going to grab this bracket right here first. I want the foam out, and for socket 2011, I'm sorry, not 2011, we're on socket 1151. You'll see there's 3 holes in each corner. Forget these 2 holes in the middle. Right up in each little wing, there are 3 holes, and they're for different mounting points for AMD and Intel. We want the middle hole in each corner. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to step over here and pick the motherboard up so you can see behind it. You see how there's 3 screws that hold this metal plate in. And our CPU is just on the other side of that. That's all part of this CPU socket. So that's what creates that. And you see those 2 screws? And you see these 2 holes? Those are going to line up right over each other. Again, foam pads are going to go up against the circuit board. We don't want to put metal against metal. And I'm just going to hold that in place. Now, Mitch, if you take a step or 2 back, I want people to see how I'm holding the board. When I say I don't need to wear an anti-static strap, you don't see me touching anything silver. My hands are on plastic or my hands are on the edges. And even when I hold this in place, I will just use my thumb to hold onto an edge, and that will hold everything without worrying. If I had a static shock right now, there's nowhere that the static shock would go that would be harmful. In other words, the edge of the board wouldn't short anything out, or hitting this metal and having a static shock on this metal isn't going anywhere. Therefore, it would cause no harm. Now I'm going to grab a standoff here, and I'm going to come in from this side of it around the CPU. I'm going to pick one of the holes that surrounds it and make sure that it aligns with the center or the middle hole here. And I just want to turn it a couple times just to get it started.
Okay.
I don't want to turn it more than that, because I still need this to be really movable so it will align with another standoff in the opposite corner. If I put a standoff in each in opposite corners, then I don't need to hold this anymore with my fingers. It'll automatically stay locked in the right place for the remaining 2 standoffs. So again, we're going to go to the opposite corner And this is where I kind of have to guide it to make sure it's going to go into that center hole. Are we seeing this? There it is. And people are like, wow, your hands are awfully close. It looks like I'm touching those little silver dots. I'm not touching them. And again, if you want to walk around with the camera a little bit there, Mitch, people can like come around towards me and see that. I want people to see the other side of my hand, because I'm not sure they can really understand that I am nowhere near touching that. And so all I need to do is align this so I can get this standoff started in that middle position. I think I got it.
And now you can let go.
And now I can do more than that. I can set this back down, and you can see where I put those two standoffs, right here and here. And I'll grab the other two, and now I don't have to worry about whether or not it aligns, because it has no choice but to align. And just give those each a couple of turns. It seemed to be off by some reason. Just it seems a little bit off. Did I get this? That's in the middle. That's in the middle. That one's in the middle. Okay. Normally it doesn't require any adjustment at all. It just fits. Now, I usually start these with my hands. But it looks like something's still not quite, it shouldn't be giving me a difficult time. This usually happens if I tighten the screw too much. One of the screws I probably put in too tight. So there's two ways I can fix this. The way I'm doing it, which is an effort in futility, or I can start backing off a couple of these screws to loosen that up so it has a little more play, a little more wiggle. You remember I was talking about Murphy's Law? It's always the last one that gives you grief. And it's not making any sense because everything looks perfect. So I'm going to take this with the screwdriver and see if it's just an angle of my hands. There it goes. It's not normally that difficult. And then I'm just going to start tightening down every opposite corner here. And I want that metal plate to be completely flush. You don't want to tighten down one side because it could warp the plate to one direction. So we just start tightening the screws little by little, corner by corner, opposite corner. And it should prevent any warpage and give us a nice flat, strong, secure back plate. Some coolers come with plastic back plates, which I'm not a fan of, because in the desert out here in Phoenix where it's hot, that plastic over the course of 3 or 4 or 5 years starts to get brittle in most cases, in many cases. And brittle plastic is frustrating because you may do nothing wrong, it just starts to break on you through normal handling. So a big metal plate like that, I am nice and secure in knowing.
And just like that, the back plate's installed.
So the back plate's on. Now we can put these little brackets. Remember I talked about these brackets? And these go on, if you follow the direction of the lever, and we'll use those screws I was showing you earlier. With the included driver, you see that it's magnetized. Just get it started. And we're going to do the same thing over here. And then once they're started, they can be tightened down. So once this motherboard's installed and we've got this wiring hooked up here, the last thing I will do is put some thermal compound on the CPU. And then there's two holes, one here and one there. I didn't tighten this side down, did I? Yeah, we want those to be tight. Yeah, so there's a hole, one on this bracket and one on that bracket. And we're going to lower when we're ready, we'll lower the cooler on top and secure the cooler with those two. And that's it. Apart from plugging it into power, that's how easy that cooler is to put in, to install. So we will be using these later. I'm going to put this back in the box. As for the rest of this stuff right here, we are going to use this in a little bit. I like to grab a little Ziploc bag and keep all the cooler screws away from the other screws, because everything else that goes in the motherboard box is what came with the motherboard, and they just fall in there loose. These I keep all together so that the customer has anything related to the cooler not getting mixed up with things, other things. And I put the directions in there so they know what's in this bag. The customer will also get the screwdriver. This will go to the customer. I think Marty's going to have about 3 of these about now.
I like it.
Yeah,
like
I think I've got a few in here. I think I've got 2 in this drawer. Yeah, here's one.
Yeah.
And I think I've got another one. One is all you need, though. You don't need more than one. So anyway, this will go with the rest of the leftover parts. And I will even put when we're done with the thermal compound, there'll still be enough in there for another application or 2. So that'll go back in the bag with the rest of the spare parts. And so I'm going to just move this all out of the way for right now. And it gets to be time to put the motherboard into the case. So the question is, it still might be difficult to reach that connector in that corner with that big plastic shroud over the I/O shield. I'm wondering if I shouldn't try and connect it now.
Or why don't you put the motherboard in? Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
It might be in my benefit to take this cable management, or take this wire tie cable management, take this off and pull these cables out.
Okay.
Remember, I said most power supplies only give you one 8-pin EPS connector, and to get more than that is usually a higher end power supply, which is what you would want if you were going down that road, if that's how you were going to use the computer, to overclock it. Wow, this even has the old Molex connectors on there. So that's our one power for the board. That'll be easy to get. This is power for a graphics card. Yeah, so that's our one EPS power connector, which is 2 4s or 1 8. And this board takes 1 8 and 1 4, 4-pin connector. So that limits your choices of power supplies. There's not many power supplies on the market that provide that. And as such, the prices are a lot higher. Anyway, I'm going to just run this cable back through. Can we go through there? No, I guess I'll push it through there. Right? And then I'm going to lay this case flat. Now, if you look inside the casement, you see the standoffs are already pre-installed. Can you see where I'm flipping my fingers around here?
Yep.
There's 3 across the bottom, 3 across the middle, 3 across the top. If you're not using a standard ATX motherboard, you will have to move some of these around. But if you're building like you see me build with this particular motherboard in this particular case, Corsair has set this up so you don't have to make any modifications. One of the worst things you can do is to install a motherboard and have one of these metal standoffs hitting the back of your motherboard where there's no matching hole. And it could short it out, cause the whole thing to smoke. And then that's not a warranty issue. That's not the manufacturer who screwed up. That's you who screwed up. It's something that simple you need to watch for. What I recommend you do is dry fit the board and count how many mounting holes the board has and count how many standoffs you have. It should be the same number. If your board isn't this wide, it may be that the board doesn't go any further than this, so these standoffs don't matter because they're not going to be hidden. I'm worried about hidden standoffs. Every standoff I should be able to see through a hole in the board.
Okay.
Right? If I got 4 holes in the board and I got 6 standoffs, that would be my first clue. So I'm going to just lay this down. I'm going to figure out where I need to stand. Normally what I would do is I would come at it like this in this direction here, so that this is the bottom of the case, this is the power supply down in the bottom. And what I'm aiming for is this hole right here. I want to make sure that all of these ports on the motherboard, figure out how I'm going to do this. This rectangular square, this rectangle has to line up with that rectangular hole. And so I want to get any cables out of my way. I don't want anything trapped underneath the board as I'm working. This is going to be difficult. I also think I want to get that little shoe under there to keep this thing from moving on me, because it's hard enough when it's not moving. Normally I pick the motherboard up by the heatsink. That would be the way I would be picking this board up, but because if I put the heatsink in, it's hard for me to plug in the connector up in the corner. I've got to find a way to pick it up by the edges, hold it by, this little heatsink here, bring it in, start to guide it in with those ports angled down, and I will just gently set it anywhere for right now. Make sure the cable's out of my way. And then again, grabbing it by the edges. Careful where I'm touching the board. I want it to align with the back, and then I'm going to need to push it, and it's got a little springiness to it, and there's a little post that'll come up through this middle hole from one of the standoffs that doesn't take a screw. And the reason it does that is to hold the board in place for you. So if I push it forward, there's a little post that came up through there. And now the rest of these holes should align with the standoffs behind the board, except, oh no. Gigabyte has followed the right specs now. Some of the Gigabyte boards have an extra hole between these two, which I have yet to see a case support, except for cases Gigabyte makes. Anyway, it's okay if you have a hole without a standoff. But you can't have a standoff without a hole. Right. And ideally, you utilize all the holes. The engineers have placed them there for a reason. Whether or not you understand that reason is not important. If you want a computer to be reliable, build it right. Whether you understand how important it is or you don't is irrelevant to reality. And so I'm going to fill all those holes. We've got 9 holes, one of which is the post. So I'm going to need 8 screws, right? Because I can't put a screw in the 9th hole. That's just a post. Those screws came with the case. They're in these little bags that we brought out. And remember that cardboard box you took out of the hard drive bay of the case? And we want these. There's 2 sets. One is a fine thread and one is a coarse threaded screw. We want the coarse threaded screw. And again, I want 8 of those. If you come around by me, Mitch, I'm just going to show you. We're going to just dump a few out on the table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now these are the same screws that you would use to secure 3.5-inch hard drives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the 8 screws.
Same screws for the optical drive? as
No,
well?
the optical drive and
Is it,
SSDs would use the finer thread,
thread.
which are these in this bag. They're a little smaller,
Gotcha.
but you got to kind of look at them close. If you put the wrong screws, these won't even start in an optical drive, or they'll start to go in sideways, and then it's like, it won't turn, and you'll rip the threads out. The smaller screws, if you put them to try them out the motherboard, some of them may tighten if they get on the right angle, but for the most part, they'll just spin and spin and spin, and then they're a pain to get back out because they just spin. So it's important you use the right screw. If the job of the screw is to secure it, it will not secure with the wrong screw. It'll just look like it's in place, but it won't actually be holding anything in. So with that, I'm going to grab my electric screwdriver. Normally, I would say if you're a first-time builder, don't use any power tools. You can use power tools to take things apart, but don't use power tools to tighten things up because a cross-threaded screw can get to be very expensive. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and it's just more efficient, and I guess I'm a slacker. So I'm going to take a little shortcut. Remember, I do have a clutch on this driver, so it automatically shuts off at a certain clutch setting. I don't want to tighten the screws all the way down, just like with the power supply, just like with this bracket we just put on. You get all the screws started so that you can still continue to align and shift the board as you may need to do to get it to line up with the standoffs behind it. See, that one's not aligned right. Something's off. Whoops. Something is off there. So I just want to take a look. Because if it's off there, it should be off over here too. And it is. We're very, very close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one back out because we are not aligned properly. And it's very dark in here. It's very difficult for me to see. I don't know how well Mitch is picking that up because my back is to the camera, but we want to be able to just wiggle this board about. It's off by just a little tiny bit. And it may be that it's going to require two hands, one to sort of push it and the other one to secure it while it's having some pressure put on it. Yeah, you're not lined up. So now I have to get a flashlight because I absolutely cannot see. I could see the hole, but I can't see what's behind it. So I can't tell which direction I've got to go. Oh, I see. It's actually got to go back. Interesting. It usually has to go forward. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Now I'm going to do this one next. It doesn't really matter what order we go in. But we do want to make sure we get to all 8. So I'm running back into the same problem where I just don't know which way this has to be shifted. So I'm going to rotate this towards me. Sometimes when I do this for the camera, I'm working backwards, and that's great when I can. All right, there it is. Did you hear it? Mm-hmm. Now it just aligned. So that one I had to pull away at this corner. The middle stayed aligned the whole time, and then this one had to go forward. So the board was kind of trapezoidal, the way that it was sitting. It was on a bit of an angle.
That's cattywampus. Yeah,
it's cattywampus. I'm sorry, I used the wrong technical term. Yeah,
seeing that one right in. Yeah.
So don't force it. Don't use brute force. Don't get angry.
No. If you need light, get a flashlight or a headband
or a headband
light.
Wait for a minute. You know, I talked about the individual cost of those parts. Don't let your impatience make a bad situation worse. Then we have the last 3 screws. One right down here. And you'll see I just let that one tighten. I'm going to just go ahead and tighten these 3 because with the other 6 lined up, I don't think it's possible for these to not be lined up. So I don't have to worry about having to shift the board anymore. that's a tight squeeze in there. You hear my screwdriver is automatically shutting off when it hits that torque setting of 3. And that is all the motherboard needs. It doesn't have to be super tight to the case. It just needs to be secured so that it won't come free in shipping or in moving the case around. I mean, that is absolutely pitch black, Mitch. Ah, I can see now.
Let there be light.
So that tightened up all 8 screws. And now I've got to get that wire into that corner right there.
Let's show them, yeah.
You see that? I've got to go into that corner,
Yeah.
which means I got to somehow get my hand in between the top of the case and the top of the motherboard and connect that connector on.
But easier now than if you had the
Oh, if that heat
monster.
sink was on, that's a
was-
pain. I've done that before. I've done it too many times before. I should have been doing this a long time ago. Well, at least as far as that particular cooler goes. Other coolers, like a liquid cooler, wouldn't be an issue. We'd have different issues, but that's because of this case design. So this is the 8-pin power connector that's been the part of discussion. It's going to fit right up into this corner. And just kind of feed it in there. And then I'll come in here. There's clips on one side. Those clips are going to go to the outer edge of the board on this motherboard. Your board may be different. Let me kneel. Oh.
Once you get it on, you can show them.
Yeah, so that's on now. The 2 4-pin connectors are pushed together. Clips on the outside, that gets pushed on. We will not use that 4-pin additional. Again, that is optional and we don't need it on this build. It will not benefit the end user in how they are going to use this computer since they are not overclocking. They're not technical people like that. And then later, we'll do the cable management. We'll get this tied up off to the side like that. So the cabling will look really good. But that's furthest from our concern at this point. These are all the front port umbilicals, the power switch, reset switch, the audio, front port audio for headphones and microphone jack are all contained in here. And that can actually go right in there. This power supply is a little short, so we have a little gap. And the reason I tuck it in there is it's got to go all the way into this corner of the board. So the more I can get it closer to that, the easier the cable is hidden. And there'll be one of these connectors. You can refer to your motherboard manual, or you can look real closely at the printing on the board. It'll say like FP audio, like front panel audio, or F audio for front audio. It's got a tooth missing, and it's got an area here that's blocked so that it can only go on in the direction of the missing tooth. If you flip it the other way around, that blocked port will prevent one of the pins from seating, and the connector will not go on. So that's how they make sure you put it on with the right side up. Now that's not fully on right now. This is a friction fit, and it requires 2 hands. I have to put the flashlight on, but I've got to wiggle and push until it bottoms out against the board. There's no clip or anything. It's just held in by friction. It's just a tight fit. But that's all we needed to do to activate or to utilize the front microphone and headphone jack with that one cable. That did that for us. Same with the USB. There's one cable. It's this thick ribbon cable here. And then that'll go somewhere around there, right in this area. Come around here and look. And you'll see it says USB 3.0 right there. It has a little notch, so it only goes in one direction. Again, there's no clip. You just sort of wiggle and push, and sometimes you can hear it click, other times not. Give it a light tug and it should just stay on. It's really not a good design. Then we got this big connector right here. That's the big motherboard power connector. which is this big monster here. And again, it's going to have a clip on one side. The clip always goes towards the edge of the board on this connector for all boards. We'll run it out through this hole just to keep the cabling looking clean. And we're going to bring that up right up through here. How do I want to do that? Maybe something like that. And then these two go together.
Let me have the flashlight. And when you go to put it on here.
Yeah, it's pretty dark in here. I think this is the part that intimidates people the most, but if you just deal with one cable at a time, I think you'll find if the cable fits, it's the right cable.
Just take your time.
Yeah, take your time and watch the videos, watch a different, we've got different videos showing different types of close-ups and the angles and lighting.
Now that
better than this.
Now that can only go on one way, right?
Yes.
Because that has a clip.
It has a clip. And these square, if you look inside of these, they look square, but some of them are not square. Some of them have little corners cut off of them, and that makes sure that they won't go on the other way. But it's pretty subtle. You have to really study that. But yeah, there's a little ridge right here, and that's what's going to hold that clip on. So it does require a little bit of
dexterity. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish this 4-pin connector was attached permanently by now, because the reason they do this is back in about 20 years ago, motherboards took a 20-pin, and they're trying to be backwards compatible with this obsolete hardware. I don't know of any modern motherboards that only use a 20. They all use 24 now.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, power supply manufacturers should just make this a 24 permanent, so you don't have to fight so much with it to get it to align. And normally I would do this with the case laying flat. It's a little more difficult, upright, and certainly while it's rotating on me.
Yeah.
But I've seated it in there, and now I have to push it until it clicks in. There it is. And if I give it a light tug, it's not coming off.
Right.
So that's given the board power.
Okay.
All right, we've given the US front port USB is hooked up. The front port audio is hooked up. Now we have the front switches, which would be power, reset, and then the hard drive LED, power LED. And then finally put the heatsink on and are ready to do our
Smoke
test
test.
fire. Yeah. In fact, that'll pretty much wrap up the whole build as far as that goes, and we can begin to install Windows 10 along with the Windows updates, put the product key in, activate Windows, optimize Windows. I still have to hook up power and data to the optical drive, but that's the furthest from my mind right now, because that can be done way, way down the road. I don't need it for any of the work. But I also don't want to forget to do it either. Customer is going to be like, hey, my optical drive doesn't open. Yeah, I haven't hooked it up. So most people, I think, are building without optical drives these days anyway. But anyway, we can finish the entire build without it. So in the motherboard box here is that Q connector if we want to use it. Or what do they call it? The G connector. Asus calls it a Q connector, Gigabyte calls it a G connector. And in this package, there's this little plastic adapter. And what you can do, you don't have to do this, it's purely optional, but the concept here is to make your life easier. Now, if the case manufacturers would just all agree that, with the motherboard manufacturers, that the cables are all going to go in this order, which most of them have done, then they could just make this all one connector right from the case manufacturer. But what this is going to do is this is going to tell you where to align those power switch, reset switch, hard drive LED, power LED, those last 4 wires we've got coming around this side. So what I want to do is separate these cables out so they're not interwoven with each other. And I need to grab some glasses, Mitch, because it's all fine print.
Go get your glasses.
My glasses.
This is
All right. I'm all grandpa'd up. Got my cheaters. And here it says power LED positive and negative. So on each one of these cables, at the end of it, it's labeled. And you'll see this one says right here. Just ignore these other cables. We just want to focus on this one. This says power LED positive and negative, and you see they've split. They're not one, usually it's one connector for a lot of it, but the power LED, they split it. And if we turn this the other side, power LED, positive cable they want, the positive side closest to the edge. So, if you look, you see how the positive is on your right, so that when I put it in this connector, that positive lines up with that positive, closest to the edge. It seats down in here. If I push down hard enough on it, it should slide in. And it should lock into place. Really not that hard. PW is the power switch. Positive and negative do not matter on any switches. Switches are simply breaking and reconnecting a single wire. They're not two wires. It looks like two wires. It's really just one wire. That's hard drive. You're like, no, Carey, I clearly see it's two wires. Yes, but on the circuit, it's one wire of electricity coming in and then one wire of electricity going out. It's not a positive and negative scenario. So power switch will align with PW. We'll get it lined up in there. And then we will lock that in. Now we're going to go around to the other side. And the hard drive LED, again, with the positive closest to the edge. So we'll, at the remaining two cables, look for the one that says hard drive LED. It doesn't say positive or negative, but there is a little tiny arrow indicated. You got to look very closely to see it, and that's your positive side. So in that case, basically make sure the words HDD LED are facing out, and it just goes in, and that will align the positive closest to the edge. And then that just locks in. And then the last one, which is pretty obvious, that's going to be the reset switch. If I can grab it, here it is. And then it says RES, the positive, negative. Remember, switches don't have positive or negative, so I don't know why they do that. And we'll just slide the switch in, we'll slide the connector in, and it locks down. See, I pulled it and it came out, which means it wasn't installed correctly. I'm always pulling on these when I think they're seated, gently, to make sure. The other half of this connector, on both sides, we don't use that half. We only use this half. Now we can feed that in right through here. Bring this case around this way. And in this corner, it's just going to align with the wires coming out of the left side. And just kind of wiggle and push. And that's just hooked up all four of those wires. And if we ever have to work on this in the future, we just pull that single connector off. We don't have to pull each of those four wires off. Finally, we can get the heatsink installed, and then we can do our test fire. It's getting exciting. All right. Thirsty. What do you think, Mitch?
Very exciting.
You sound excited.
I wasn't using my acting skills.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. You know, well, I've got the case in this position with you holding the camera. Let me grab the fine threaded screws here and just secure that DVD drive.
Okay.
I got to do it later anyway, so. Those are the coarse threaded screws. I need the fine ones. Nope. Done with those. Those go in the box. And I just need two, one for each side of the optical drive, just to lock it in. So if you look up here, Mitch, you'll see there's two holes. I don't want it in both. Just one or the other. So here I'm going to go just right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm pretty OCD. If I use the bottom hole, then I use the bottom hole on both sides. I can't even use anything but the bottom hole on this side. So if I had put it in the top hole, even though it really doesn't matter, I would have go to the other side and move it so that they're both the same.
But that locks in the optical drive.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, it was locked in
Didn't it?
before, but it's
Anyway.
definitely not going to go anywhere. No matter how they handle it in shipping, it's not going anywhere. And it's same torque setting of 3 throughout the entire build. Same number 3 on the driver. This is the Milwaukee M4. I think I mentioned that earlier. I really, really like that driver a lot for electronics work, like this size of electronics. Not so much for laptops, but for desktops, it's a savior for carpal tunnel syndrome. Okay, let's get the heatsink installed. Super, super easy from this point because we've already got the braces and brackets ready to rock and roll. So what I'm going to start to do is apply the thermal compound, and that's going to require what?
A glove.
You got it. So let me go grab a glove because it only occurred to me that I need it now. Because, you know, I've never done this before. Only like 7 million times.
Somebody says, hold the line. Yeah. Good old Toto. 41 years together. Well, that was quite a long run, much longer than most bands, and so.
I mean, look how long Dexy's Midnight Runners went on for years and years and oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, look how long. I was gonna say Aha because they had that one hit.
Yeah.
But they've been very, very famous for 30 years. In the Netherlands, I guess.
Right.
So, but in the U.S., they were like just going.
Right.
How about
Kajagoogoo. You don't even remember.
no Kajagoogoo? So that guy's name was Mark Lamal. No. His last name was Hamill. Mark Hamill's a different guy.
Oh.
His last name was Hamill, like Mark Hamill, but
Okay.
it's not Mark Hamill.
Right.
And so when he did the theme song to Neverending Story, he did it as a solo project, not part
Okay,
as
right.
Kajagoogoo. Kajagoogoo sings a song,
Too shy.
Too Shy.
Yeah.
Yacht Rock, by the way.
Yeah.
Too Shy.
Shy,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's Yacht Rock. Anyway, he did what do you call it when you mix the letters up in a different order? It's the same letters put in a different order.
Right.
And came up with the name Lamal
Okay.
from the word Hamill. And that was the name of the artist who sang the Neverending Story. Same guy.
Mm.
Little trivia for you. But I was going to think of, Space Age Love, Flock of Singles,
Oh, right.
right? What happened to them?
Yeah.
It's like 2 guys now that travel around.
Yeah.
Or Taco.
Putting on the Ritz?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Rockwell. What happened to Rockwell?
Someone's watching me?
Yeah, you're very good at this game.
Yeah.
80s, man.
Yeah.
80s.
I don't just have looks. Remember that. I got braids too. Anyway, nitrile glove, people, not
not rubber, not
no,
latex.
No.
Nitrile. Thank you.
Not powdered. So.
Are you ready for your exam?
Maybe tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. So are you gonna put on the?
It's clean.
Yeah. You're gonna put on that with the case upright versus down.
I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I shouldn't. I
Okay.
can apply the thermal compound with the case upright.
Okay.
All right, so what I do with the thermal compound, I've got it around. Oh, here it is. I guess we're going to need the rest of this stuff in this box. Now, there's a lot of. Here, look at me. We're going to have a talk for a minute, you and I.
Okay.
There's a lot of discussion about how you apply thermal compound. I want to let you in on a little engineering secret. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. This obsession with thermal compound is redundant, irrelevant, and completely accomplishes nothing. It doesn't help anybody. What's important is you have a nice thin layer of thermal material between the top of the CPU heat spreader and the bottom of your cooler, whether it's a liquid cooler or air cooler, doesn't matter. The point of this is to be almost like a butter or a coating of paint. And its purpose is to fill in all the microscopic nooks and crannies between the two metal surfaces so that they're making as complete of contact as possible for the most heat transference. If you put on too little, you don't get all those nooks and crannies filled. It's defeating its purpose. If you put on too much, then you're interfering with the connection between those two surfaces, which defeats its purpose. The good news is there's a pretty large barrier that exists in the middle. Too little is too little, and too much is clearly too much. When it oozes out the sides, it's too much. Way too much. When you look at the CPU, if the whole CPU is not covered, then it's too little. So how do you know if it's too much or too little if you're using a squishing method, or you can't see through it? You're just using faith. I guess if it oozes out the sides, you use too much. If it doesn't ooze out the sides, maybe it's enough. So I don't like maybes. I like peace of mind. And so what I do, and the way I apply my thermal compound, is I take a little bit of it and dab it about like that. And you'll see we still have a lot left in this tube. And I'm going to use the nitrile glove, which is completely clean. There's no dust, or you don't want to use a bare finger because you've got skin oils, and this stuff is really hard to get off your skin on top of that interfere with the efficacy of this material to transfer the heat. So you want to keep it free of contamination. And that includes dust, dirt, hair, oil, fingerprints. And people go, oh, you're going to create air bubbles with that. Well, if you just tap on it like this and you create all these little mountains and valleys, they're all going to get squished down. And guess what? You won't have any air bubbles.
You know, I never had any crannies that had nooks. I'm just saying, you know.
It's not what I read on the internet.
Okay, yeah.
I saw some videos.
So that's smooth, you know, that's, you would consider that's just the right amount right there.
Yeah, it's not too much, it's not too little. It's like a single coating of paint. I don't want to be able to read through it. I don't want to see through it. But I also don't want it dripping.
Right.
And I don't want it so thick that it's about to drip.
Okay.
And then because you see my glove, that would be hard to wash off if that was on my skin. It would probably be on me for 3 days.
Right.
So I can take the glove and I can fold it in on itself, and it just keeps it off the furniture. It's clean.
Yeah.
And this will just go in the trash.
Dispose of properly.
Yeah.
Boom.
Now, if you want to use any other method, here, look at me for a
Yeah.
second. If you want to use any other method to apply your thermal compound, if you say,
Yeah.
I don't care the way you do
Right.
it, Carey, I like to make the dot and squish. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Do
Some
that.
people still use your Scotch tape method. To
Do
be
that.
honest, yeah.
However you want to do it.
Yeah.
The important thing is how you get here.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care how you get here, but you need to have complete coverage on the CPU for the optimal cooling. It doesn't make sense to me that they obsess over this and then they do it wrong. And they can't see it because once your cooler's in place, it's not transparent. You cannot see how much coverage you've got. But I don't care. I honestly don't care. You need to use thermal compound. You need to use the right amount, which again is varying. It's not like there's a single right amount. There's too little, there's too much, and then there's a great big middle, right? And how you wish to, do a little X or a little pattern or little dots, and you want to squish it or you want to spread it, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Test it yourself, you'll see it doesn't matter. So with that in place, I'm going to lower the case down so that I can set the heatsink on top. And this is a large heatsink we've got here. There's the fan we're going to be using in a moment. And there's the cooler. And then that's all that's left in this box. It's a heck of a deal for less than 50 bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all there is. Now, if you look at this cooler, you'll see one side kind of sticks out. One screw sticks out. And that's the screw that's going to go towards the RAM. Then this screw here, the way we have to get through it is through a hole on top of the heatsink. It's important you put this on in the right direction, or it can interfere with your RAM, or it could interfere with the installation of other parts. So
Let me go around here.
on the bottom,
Yeah, very important.
on the bottom here, there's tape that's got to come off. It's important that this stays clean.
Okay.
I've had people who build their own computers, and I've done it myself, you forget to take this little piece of tape off. And your system's going to run a little warm. So if you care about your cooling, you want to leave that tape on until you're ready to install.
Luckily, you had viewers to tell you the one time that you left it on in the comments, and then you're like, oh, I think I did, and you pulled it off.
Yeah, you know, if I misspeak, if I use the wrong terminology, there are people just ready to jump on me and make me aware. So anyway, so that screw that juts out.
Show them the two holes where the screws are going to go in.
Right here on one, and right here on the other side.
Okay.
This is our RAM, so that side that sticks out.
Here, let me wedge this. So.
Yeah, please do. Jam it in there.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, okay.
This is just going to, so we only put thermal compound on the CPU. We do not put it on the heatsink.
Okay.
Only that gets thermal compound.
Yep.
Never mix two thermal compounds together. If you don't have enough, you got to wipe it clean and use a different. Don't mix two different thermal compounds. Don't apply thermal compound to both the heatsink and the CPU, only to the CPU, so that is completely clean. If you look at the bottom of this heatsink, it is completely polished and clean and free of any detritus.
Okay.
I'm going to set it down.
Big words. All right.
Yeah, big words. Like abbreviation. Think about that. Why is that such a big word? All right, so with that sitting gently in place, I can grab the screwdriver that came with the cooler. And that's why this screwdriver is so important, because it's got to be able to fit down through this hole. And we can start to get this tightened up. But don't screw it down too much, because you still have to get to the other side. This side's much easier to access. There we go. And we just keep going back and forth, turning a couple of times. And then come around. So we have nice, even, flat surface. If you tighten up one side way too much, it's going to be sideways. You may not be able to tell with a human eye that you're not sitting flush. You'll just have high temps that don't make any sense. Most things that don't make any sense is due to a lack of understanding. Don't blame the thing, blame your understanding. Go after the education instead of the, conclusion that it's junk. So these screws come to a dead stop. It's not like you have to worry about how far can you tighten them. They absolutely come to a dead stop. And you'll see that's why the screwdriver is so perfect, because when I place it down in here, what are the odds that you have a screwdriver that's going to be long enough and narrow enough? So that's why they include it. And of course, you can use this for anything. It doesn't have to be computer related. So keep it. You don't have to throw it away when you're done. Finally, we put the fan on, which I have here. And this fan, and I've talked about this before, where these support brackets are is the side that air is coming out. And this other side that has the center that's spinning right here, see that center doesn't spin because the motor is there. This center spins. This is what's sucking air in or pulling air in. I want all my airflow to go from the front of the case to the back. The fan that's already with this computer case right here, can you see that, Mitch? You see that's the side there that spins, so it's drawing air in and it's spitting it out the back. We want to keep that airflow moving in that direction. So just repeat, however that fan's installed, this fan gets installed the same way. And the way these fans install is pretty clever. I wasn't a fan of this. Did I just say I wasn't a fan of the... All right, never mind. So it's a fan, and I was not a fan of this mounting technique because to me it's not as secure as a screw, but I've yet to have a problem with it. And so what I'm going to do is take these wire hanging brackets, whatever you want to call them, and just place them into the holes on one side. And what I'm thinking of is this fan's going to go on this way, and this power cable's got to come out of the bottom to go towards the motherboard. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Again, I don't know how well you're going to see this, but I'll try and do it backwards for you. This just goes in this hole here on the front. And the same thing over here, right? And when I get this installed, it's going to be hard for me to get my fingers in here to wire tie this wire, so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to get rid of the wire tie and put on 2 nylon zip ties right now. You can come around here if you want, Mitch. Let me go grab 2 zip ties, which came with the case, and some wire cutters, which I have here. And we're gonna go just like this. Get rid of that wire tie. I don't want that anywhere near. Cut the pigtails off the zip ties. And that's one less thing I got to worry about later. Now, when it comes to putting the fan onto the heatsink, there's a little groove that runs along the edge right here. Come over here for a second, Mitch. You see this groove right here? Right where my fingernail is, there's a groove. And this fan bracket's going to sit right in there. You stay there, I'm going to come over here. There's also, right on the top, there's little grooves as well. That helps you to align the fan to where it needs to be. And I can actually plug this fan in right now, I think. Or can I? That goes down on the motherboard connector. We've got other better shots of this on other videos. And I don't really know that it's helping me to do this now. It only goes on one direction, and it'll say CPU fan on the motherboard, and in your documentation will highlight that one particular fan connector specifically for your CPU fan, which is often monitored by the BIOS and controlled by the BIOS to speed up or slow down as your CPU gets hotter or cooler, to keep your system as quiet and as cool as possible. So it's important you use the right fan header for your CPU fan. Now, with regards to the rest of this here, I realize I might have not done this cable management right. The cable's kind of getting in my way now. So I think what I'm going to do is take that off. We're going to do this right up. I want to bring the fan as low as it will go, seated into the grooves on the heatsink here. That looks pretty darn good. And I'm going to grab the wire hanger. And I'm going to pull it, and it'll lock right in.
Into that notch.
Yeah, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now, I will say this is a little more difficult when the motherboard's installed in the case, but given a choice of either doing this or trying to get that cable on with this in the way,
right,
I'll take this. This side is just going to require a little more. You know, I may not be standing in the best place to be doing this.
Yeah, go ahead and switch if you need to.
I'm a bit stubborn once I've started it. I feel like, feel committed. I should be able to just grab the lever, pull it back. That locks it in. Now I can grab the power cable, plug it back in, and the cable management should be fine now. If you've got large hands, this is going to be very difficult for some people, but it's a combination of this case and this heatsink. It's not for every computer build. But if you're going to follow these exact parts, this is going to be one of those areas where it's just going to be a tight fit. Take your time, don't get frustrated. You only have to do it once, and you're probably going to want to build another computer when you're done anyway, like we talked about. So even the frustrating parts, learn to enjoy them. And it may only be frustrating because of the confines of the space. Which, again, with a different case, like if I was using, I don't know, one of those Be Quiet pure-based cases, I probably wouldn't have this particular issue because it's just roomier. should be it. What do you think, Mitch? Is it gonna work? Did we screw it up? Are you giving me the finger?
No.
You giving me the thumb?
There you go.
All right, let's switch it back over to camera 1 for these people, for everybody watching. There we go. And Mitch can put that other camera back.
You move this like, or no, yeah, there.
It was already open.
Oh, yeah.
It would have swung back on its own when you align the camera and the tripod head. Put the front in first, and then rest the back, and it locked in. There you go. All right. I'm going to make Mitch an expert on that. Yeah. And let's see if we missed any contributions while we were working here. What do we got? Madi contributed $2. Nick Marengas has contributed $19.99. Thank you so
Nick.
much. Yeah, right. Mark really wants us to grab a bottle of Coke.
I had one at lunch and one here, and so I'm certainly wired.
Mark says having haters means you're making an impact.
Nobody mentioned Verner's. Is it Verner's? You're all out of
They're
Verner's.
not Michigan people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love me a Verner's.
I think they're in the fridge too. I think I have Verner's in there. Okay, we ready to test fire? What do you think? Should we do it?
Let's see.
Let me clear this stuff out of my way.
Let me get rid of set the box over here.
I guess I need a power cable.
Yeah.
So this is the power cable I use. Like I said, I don't like to unwrap the nice new power cables. Keep those for the customers.
Flashlight.
Yeah, I'm done with that. Thank you. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. And then I want to move this whole thing over.
Okay.
All right. I need a keyboard and a mouse. So here's my spare keyboard and mouse. One here. One here. Wireless dongle goes.
You got it so we can't see ourselves.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. Silly me. There we are. Larry Kane's contributed $2. Stephen wants to know if I've connected the rear fan. No, I have not connected it yet. That is something else I will do, but I don't have to do it right now. You've got the power cord. I need to feed video, right? So we'll use input 2, which means I need an HDMI cable. So these HDMI cables, all the parts, the tools you see me use, they're all listed in my Amazon store. If you buy anything, after clicking my link that takes you to Amazon, anything you purchase on that browser visit, I make a small commission from. It doesn't charge, you don't pay any more, nothing changes on your side. So if you guys want to support the channel that way for stuff you're going to buy anyway, I would appreciate it. We're using onboard video. That's the way this customer will be using this machine. They're not gaming with it. And we're going to, so therefore, use the built-in HDMI port.
Right there.
Yep. And then I will plug this back onto the capture card so you guys can see what's happening. Okay. Switch is in the off position. The last plug is the power plug. Mitch, if you would do the honors.
Power.
Power. Now, if we hooked all the switches and lights up correctly, when we hit the power switch, well, after I turn the power supply on, when we hit the power switch, the machine should take a few moments to acknowledge what RAM and CPU we've got, and eventually come up and say there's no bootable device found because we haven't installed Windows yet. It's an unformatted brand new M.2 drive, and it may even just default us right into the BIOS. Then we can check our BIOS version, see if there's a newer version available, which there typically is, and flash it rather than waiting for a reason to flash the BIOS. I like to flash it so I don't have a reason to do it later. Again, to each his own on this. Some people feel like, well, the manufacturer says you should only do that if you need to. Well, the manufacturer is giving you a boilerplate liability claim. They don't want you to do something that you could screw up and then cause them to have to replace your board through your own screw up. So it's easier for them to say, hey, why don't you do us a favor since you don't know what you're doing, and don't do this unless you have to. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be that smart to flash a BIOS. If you just pay attention to the details, there's no risk involved. The manufacturers will always err on the side of profit, and anything that costs them money or potentially costs them money eats into their profit. So the manufacturers will always play into whatever is going to be in their benefit, not to yours. I am telling you, it is in your benefit to always have the latest, not the beta, but the latest BIOS that's available will always be in your benefit. It will not always be in the manufacturer's benefit if you don't know what you're doing and you screw the board up and it costs the manufacturer money to replace your board, or even have to talk to you on the phone. They got to pay somebody to talk on the phone. That's why manufacturers do that. They do not have your best interest in mind. They have their profits in mind. That being said, it's your computer. Don't let me tell you what to do. Do whatever you want.
Carey, Ronnie mentioned that if the Mugen was unavailable, what then alternative would you recommend? Would you recommend the Hyper 212 Evo still good 35
You know,
bucks?
the Hyper 212 Evo is a little cheaper. It's smaller.
Thinner,
it depends on what CPU you're using. I would suggest if it's not available that you wait until it becomes available.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah,
I don't know.
You've never had a case where they're out.
Yeah, they were out for a while.
Oh, were they? Yeah.
Yeah, but at that time, I had 4 in inventory, so it didn't bother me. In fact, I'm down to 1 right now, and I'm debating whether or not to order 2 to have on hand.
Yeah.
But it depends on the CPU and the motherboard and the case. Those 3 things are variables that determine what cooler will fit. It also depends on your budget. I just don't think that there's an equivalent cooler at this price level.
Right.
That's of this size.
Yeah.
Okay. The closest thing to it is that Hyper 212 Evo, but it's inadequate for something like a 9900. It's just not going to cut it.
Right.
And it's much more difficult to install. So I was very happy with the 212 Evo. I used it on a lot of builds until I found this. This is so much better, so much easier. It's a few dollars more, but it's so far superior. I would just wait to get my hands on one of these. They're available, even when they're sold out. Somebody's selling one somewhere. Right. Even if it costs you 10 more or 20 more bucks. Right. So if this would, instead of 49 was 75, I'd still pay the 75 because I think it's still worth it. Right. Okay. Good question. It's a good question. But again, without knowing the case, the CPU, and the budget, I would use a liquid cooler in here if I could, but it's not an option.
Okay.
All right. Larry Kane's contributed $1. Hey, thank you, Larry.
Drum roll, please.
Flip the switch on. I'm going to flip us over to input 2, which is going to say no signal. Okay, so that's normal. We have 1,173 people watching us right now, and I don't have a monitor. You notice that? There's nothing. There's no screen that I'm plugged into, because I want to use your screen. Yeah, you. If you're watching this video,
your screen.
I'm going to use your screen. So I've got this hooked up to 1,172 screens right now. Watch, I'll show you.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me borrow your screen. So I'm going to put us up in the corner, Mitch, and I'm going to turn the computer on. Or why don't you do it? Why don't you do the honors? And then people should see the fans turn when you get it fired up.
Is it the circly or the other one? Doesn't matter what
It's
side.
the one closest to the edge. There you go. So the lights come on, the fan is turning. Give it a few seconds, give it up to a minute, and let's see what happens here. We should get some signal from the computer. Right now the computer is not sending a signal. Here we go.
And you think it might go right into BIOS once it
it's going to, it recognized something, it reset
Set
itself. It may do that a couple of times. This is normal, let it be. And in just a moment here,
it should, I guess, default right in there to the BIOS, you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to go right into the BIOS, usually. So now it's reset itself 3 times. This is all normal.
Yeah, don't panic. Don't
Yep.
think you've done something wrong.
4 times.
And there
right
you
into
go.
the BIOS. Now it says the BIOS version is F10.
I thought that was the latest one. Didn't you just build with
This is the Pro Wi-Fi,
yeah.
and I'm showing the latest is a F11.
Oh.
So I'm going to extract the BIOS file that was provided by, Al has provided me the link for that. And I'm going to put that on a flash drive using a streaming computer. You guys can't see what I'm doing. But I've got a little flash drive here that I use specifically for this purpose. And I always keep it empty. And the only thing I'm going to put on there is the BIOS file. I don't need anything else. I don't need the AutoExec BAT or the eFlash file or anything else that is part of the download. Just need the main F11 BIOS. And now that I've got that, it's here on this flash drive right here. What I can do is now plug it into a USB port back here. Any USB port should do the job. Sometimes you've got to reboot the system. Sometimes you don't. So we'll go over here to where it says, excuse me, it says Q flashes. Press F8. And then it says update BIOS in yellow. That's the highlighted option. So I push enter. And see, it does see it. So it sees see how the file name ends in F11? That's coming off of that flash drive. So I just point the mouse over to that, click on it, double click on it, and it's verified the file, and it says, do you want to do a fast or an intact? And you see how intact is yellow? That's the default. So we can click or hit enter, and we're updating the BIOS right now. That's really not a big deal that everybody makes such a big deal about.
Right. And those days of if suddenly you were to lose power now in your house, where the old days they claimed it would brick the motherboard, but I've never ever heard of that now with these modern boards.
The Gigabyte boards have a dual BIOS, so if that were to happen, it would say your system BIOS is corrupt. Stand by, recovering from the backup BIOS.
Okay.
I've seen that happen. I've seen it happen, though I don't know why it happened. I've had a customer system, it wouldn't turn on. And I reset the BIOS, and when I turned it on, it said the BIOS was corrupted, and it's now recovering from the backup BIOS.
Okay.
The customer's still using that system to this day without issue. No explanation as to what caused it.
Right.
Maybe they had a power spike. They don't know.
No.
And that system's 3 or 4 years old now. So I don't know. It's about the only time I've ever really seen that.
Now this will self reboot. You don't have to hit the
Yeah, I'm not
reset.
touching. Not touching you. Yeah, it's all. Just be patient. It just happens all by itself.
And really, guys, as you can see, Carey and I built a pretty smoking desktop computer in less than 3 hours, and I didn't feel that we were rushed.
Oh, we
Took
were
our time.
chit-chatting for
right, and so
half an hour.
yeah, so the days of it, you devoting 10 hours, they're gone now.
Yep.
I don't recommend leaving an hour and doing this in an hour, but it's not going to be a whole day process.
You should enjoy it.
Right.
Don't rush it through. You can see our CPU fan, which it knows based on where we plugged it in on the motherboard is the CPU fan. Up here in the corner, it says BIOS version F11. That's our latest BIOS. And I'm done with this flash drive, so I can unplug it. I will erase it, so it'll be available for another board for another day.
Now, is there anything else in the BIOS? What is it? HCHI or HSC?
AHCI. So that really
anything?
is evolved from SATA.
Okay.
But we're not using SATA.
Yeah.
We're using NVMe and M.2. If we were using M.2 SATA, any modern motherboard should default to AHCI. The older ones default to SATA.
Okay.
But with NVMe, it's irrelevant. It's a whole different technology, and it doesn't apply to us. When we hook up like the DVD drive and stuff like that, if you scroll through your BIOS options in here, like it says, we want to go to advanced mode right here. You can see under, it's probably under settings, I/O ports maybe, is that? No. SATA and rapid storage technology, and you'll see AHCI is set by default, just right out of the box. So that's the way it's been.
Right.
It's people that have older hardware that see those older settings, or maybe some systems from Dell or HP. Those people might default because they're always lagging. They're never leading the way. They're always following. But any system you build today with a modern motherboard, AMD or Intel should be defaulting to all the optimized. You shouldn't have to go in. I don't have to change anything right now. I just leave everything alone. If I want to turn XMP on, I can, but I don't want to do that yet. I need to make sure everything's working. Right. If I turn on XMP and that results in a problem, now I don't know if it's a problem with what we just built or a problem with a setting that I did not have to turn on right now. So let's make sure the system is stable. Then we can worry about tweaking it so that we realize if there's a problem after we tweak it, we caused it with the tweaks.
Right.
All right. So I can install Windows 10 right now. I've got a flash drive with Windows 10 on it. Everybody can make one of these for free. You just have to pay money to activate it. That's normal. It's the way Microsoft works. There's no
And you do have
piracy.
you do have a video showing how to do that.
So I've just turned this off. I'm going to take this Windows 10 flash drive, plug it into one of the blue USB ports because they're faster, and that is a $20 16 gig flash drive. You know, 16 gig flash drive should be like $5. Yeah, a slow one.
Yeah.
That's a fast one.
Yeah.
And I want my install to happen fast. So I'm going to turn the machine back on, and it should automatically scan for any bootable device right now. And if we wait, the only thing it can boot from is that flash drive. It's going to figure that out here in a moment.
And you'll
there
see
it goes.
the magic circle. All right.
There it is. So that's going to start the Windows 10 installation process. If we had more than one storage device, I would not be plugging those in right now, or it gets really confusing over
As to which one.
do you want to install Windows on. So when you first build your computer, if you have more than one storage device, only plug in the main one that you intend to boot from, get Windows 10 installed, then disconnect power and hook up your other storage devices. You might even want to do those one at a time so that you get the drivers associated.
Right.
in
Don't,
order.
I recommend one at a time.
Yeah, because if you put in 3,
Then
then all of a
it's
sudden
confused,
it's D, E,
yeah.
and F, and the optical drive maybe already be taking up D, so now you have E, F, and G. You've got to move all the letters around. Well, you don't have to,
Right.
but if you have OCD like me,
Yeah. You want
I
everything
want all my
yes,
all my
C.
hard drive storage to be the first letters, my optical storage to be the next letter, and any solids like memory card readers, anything after that. And then any map network drives I take down to the opposite end, starting at Z and working my way the other way. So we're going to go with all the defaults here. We'll just hit next and install now.
And this should be fast.
Yes,
with
this
drive.
should be one of the fastest installs of Windows 10 you've ever seen. I never ever install a product key during install, only after install. So right down here it says I don't have a product key. That installs your trial of Windows 10, which will run indefinitely without activation. It just prevents certain customizations. And it's all for free. It's only when you want to activate Windows that you have to pay for it. So here we want Windows 10 Pro. Usually when you enter your product key, it knows automatically which version of Windows is that for. Because I'm not giving it a product key, I have to know.
Right.
If I put in the wrong version of Windows, my product key is not going to work, and I'll have to start over again with the right version, right? Or I have to buy a new product key. So anyway, all my product keys are Windows 10 Pro. I hit next, and it's going to come up with the end user license agreement here in a moment. You don't have a choice but to accept the terms. Then it's going to say, do you want to do an upgrade or a custom? I always choose custom. And it says where. Well, there's only one place it can go. That's the 2 terabyte Intel 660p NVMe drive. And so all I have to do is hit next. And it's going to automatically partition, automatically format, and automatically install Windows.
And watch, guys and gals, just how fast this is. Jeez.
You'll also see that I have no network connection on this computer. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, we don't need it. Two, if we don't need it and we have a problem, it could be a part of the problem. Anything that's not hooked up is obviously not a part of any problem we may encounter. So that makes finding the resolution to the problem much faster when you have less crap to sort through. Three, modern Windows 10 install says, oh, you have an internet connection, so let's make a Microsoft account. I don't want to make a Microsoft account. I want an offline account. And the only way, Microsoft is really working hard to get you to create that Microsoft account. So you can reach around back and disconnect your cable, or if you're on Wi-Fi, disable the Wi-Fi temporarily, you know, go in your device manager. There's a lot of different ways you can disable Wi-Fi. Then it'll say, oh, you don't have an internet connection, you must want to make an offline account. And then as soon as you plug it back into the network, it'll go, oh, I see you're plugged in now, you want to make an online account? And you go, no. And it goes, yeah, but it's so much better, are you sure? You're like,
No.
I said no.
No. No means no.
And then it's done, yeah. Yeah, I was watching that comedian, Ismo, I-S-M-O. He's a Finnish, he's from Finland. He goes, there's things about the English language I don't understand. Like if you use a curse word and somebody's offended by that, they'll go, language! Well, yes, that is part of language. Yes, that is correct. And he said, you guys have a thing, it says no means no.
Yeah, it doesn't know.
Yes, usually a word that means the same word, that's usually how words work. And I don't think anybody who doesn't know what the first no means is very helpful that they're going to know what the second no means. He's got a unique take on the English language because he's an analytical thinker, and he speaks Finnish, which is a very unique language. There's no language like it. And coming to America, you know, they learn English in Finland. And he's like, I've learned that I really don't know English like I thought I did. You know, somebody comes up to me and they ask me, what's up? I've learned the right thing to say back is to ask them, what's up? That's very weird, but they seem happy. Anyway, if you, on YouTube, look up Ismo, I-S-M-O, and his take on the English language and his interpretation of everything is this cultural difference is hilarious. There we go, 100%. Now it's just installing features. There won't be any updates to install because we're not, see it says installing updates. There's no internet connection, so there's no updates to grab. We do that after the fact. Can you hear the system at all?
No,
Yeah,
that's dead quiet.
We got the power supply fan running and the CPU fan running. I'm not going to hook up the front case fan because it's not needed without a graphics card. There's no point in it. I will hook up the rear fan, but it won't make any more noise than it's making right now. Now it's going to automatically restart, and it will automatically restart from the M.2 drive now, rather than from the flash drive, because the BIOS by default, if you leave it alone, goes through a certain order. It's only when people go in there and they start disabling things that they're like, oh, after I updated, I can't access my drive anymore, because they modified it. So I'm here to show you live on video that just simply doesn't occur if you set up the computer correctly, as I'm demonstrating. If you don't, then you have to deal with those things you don't see me have to deal with because you did it differently than I showed you. Getting ready for our first Windows boot up here. And then the next thing we can do is go to Windows Update and grab those updates. But I'm gonna, while we're waiting, I'm gonna grab that Ethernet cable because I want you to see this. I think you're gonna be, this is a result of a recent update in Windows to Windows 1903. I want to show you how aggressive Microsoft is about getting people to make Microsoft accounts. I find it humorous, but I'm sure a lot of people are dumbfounded and don't know how to get around it.
Yeah.
They're not making the association of the internet connection to the online account. I mean, if you just think logically, how could you create an online account if you didn't have an internet connection? It seems like a pretty obvious way to get around it, but people are actually getting stuck. Other technicians are reaching out to me and asking me, how are you getting around that? I'm like, well, think about it. If you're not online, how could you create an online account? Oh. So here we go. Finalizing this, we have United States is our region. US is our keyboard layout. We don't have a secondary keyboard layout, so we skip that. Now it sees the Wi-Fi. It's already loaded the drivers, and it's saying, let's connect. what you want to look for in Microsoft is the fine print at the bottom corners of the screen. So in this case, it says, I don't have internet, because they don't know if those Wi-Fi points are mine.
Right.
And it says, but there's so much more to see. Like, what did I say? Back in this little print.
Yeah. So
the
that's
limited setup.
So that's
It's
now
limited.
twice. You've gotten the one. This is now the second one.
Yeah. And then it says, all right, who's going to use it? I don't know what name to put in here. I don't, who's this going to?
Because Marty may be giving it to, you know.
I think it's going to his girlfriend. I think her name is Pam.
Leave it blank. User.
I can't leave it blank. I can put the name user in here and hit enter, and then leave the password blank. Customer can set that up if they want to or not. It's not like it's really securing anything. Now it says, do you want to activate the history? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And the digital assistant, I don't want that. And I turn off everything but location services, so I just disable all this telemetry stuff. And the customer can change all this back. It's all in the control panel. But I'll leave location on because that'll help us to set the time zone and stuff. Everything else is good.
And we don't have an ETA yet for the.
Oh, Mahdi wanted the name Mahdi on it. Well, he can change it. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to, because somebody reached out to me the other day and they said, I want to change my username, but you can't just rename the folder. How do I change the username? I'm like, just don't. It's not important. Who cares? Doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
I said, if you just put a generic name in there like user, you'll never have to worry about the name changing. You know, if you sell the computer to somebody, you just keep it as user. What you have to do basically is create another user account, move everything out of the old user account into the new one, and as you're logged in as the new one, then you can delete the old one. All because I didn't want to see that name. It doesn't actually have any technical benefit whatsoever. So anyway, this will just take a minute as it finishes up the Windows 10 install. And I'm going to go ahead and plug the Ethernet cable into the router. Don't plug this in yet, but hold that end for me if you would. Okay, so guys, if you're paying attention over here, I want you to watch the screen. That is a direct result. Everything's live happening right now with dual video inputs right now with the live camera and the video output of this machine. Mitch, when you plug that into the back of this computer, here, we can take the flash drive out. That's our Windows 10 install. We don't need that.
Now?
I want you to watch. When you plug that in,
Now? No.
and then watch what happens on the screen when you plug it in. It's obtaining an IP address, and it says, let's finish setting up your computer, like we were finished. No, we're not. So just so you can see what's behind the video. It's asking if we want the computer resources to be available on the network. I don't. And it says, well, let's finish up. There's no way to cancel this. All there is an OK button. So I hit OK. And now it wants me to go back and create a Microsoft account. Remember what I said, fine print at the bottom of the screen, often in the corners. Skip for now. Now, how many times do you think I'm going to have to tell it?
Twice at least, so that's one.
Oh, looks like once was all it took. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Now, when we have internet access, we'll go to Windows Update, and we can grab all the updates. This is Windows 1903, which is the latest current version of Windows. 1909 will be out probably two more weeks or so.
Oh, you do? You think sometime in mid-November?
Yeah, I think Microsoft announced the date for it already, but it's not a major update. It's a pretty minor one.
Right.
But regardless of that, just because this video is going to be around, somebody's going to be watching this video in 2026.
Right.
Why is he using such an old version of Windows? Because you're watching a video that's 7 years old, maybe? So right now, today, as we make the video, this is the latest edition of Windows 10, and then these are the latest updates. The nice thing about 1909 will be a new ISO image that'll have all these updates already installed. And then we'll get just the updates since then until
Put us back on the screen.
2003 will come out, right?
Yeah.
There you go. You're not even in.
As I'm on. I know.
You're not even. There you go. Carey, what happens if you try to rename the user folder that is on the desktop? There's no user folder on the desktop, but the user folder on the C drive, if you rename it, it simply won't allow. It won't allow it.
Yeah. One viewer had a good suggestion. He likes to the username the date that he built the machine. That's kind of interesting too, because you know you can do that. I actually, for my birthday build, I just called it 450D because that tells me that's that case, because I've got other desktops around, so I'm like,
well, yeah, it becomes more of an issue when you're on a network and you need to sign in with permissions.
Right.
You have to know the username.
Yeah.
So if you're on a network and you're like, oh, 450D, I know which machine that is on the network.
Right.
If it says December 2019, I don't know which machine that is.
right.
So, but then everybody uses their machines the same
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But particularly in a network, the naming convention of the machine and the user can be very important for identifying and resolving problems.
Well, I've got three desktops on a network, so it's good to. One is called White Desktop. That's the
There
one
you go.
That's the one you and I worked on.
I've got a laptop
Yeah.
I call laptop.
Right. So
I got an Amazon Fire TV I call Fire TV.
TV.
So when I see them in my router, I can see what's attached to me.
Right.
I don't just get a bunch of MAC addresses. I don't know what's what. Gary Tatum's contributed $5. He says, it's sad that I would rather watch computer builds than movies. Why would that be sad? You would
Have you
rather
seen-
watch
yeah.
something educational than just some silly entertainment?
Have you seen today's movies? They're full of nothing but CGI and
You know what?
no stories. They're
Rambo
horrible.
came out real quietly. I didn't even know it was out. And I'm told there's a lot of gore in the last 20 minutes. But I want to see it. But I don't know that I'll see it in the theater because they've already moved it to a smaller screen. I might as well just watch it on my TV at home.
Which movie?
Rambo Last Blood.
Oh, right. And then that
and
Will
there's Ad
Smith.
Astra coming out, which...
Yeah. And then that Will Smith movie that bombed, Gemini Man.
Did that come out already?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize it came out.
Yeah.
So it came out, failed, and it's gone.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
So.
And then there's... I saw a great documentary on John DeLorean that Alec Baldwin played.
Oh,
John
right.
DeLorean.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. There was more to that story than I realized. I thought he was completely innocent. I'm not correct in that.
Have you ever sat in one of those cars? I mean, you've seen them, obviously, the DeLorean.
I've
but
seen a lot of DeLoreans.
But you've never sat in one?
Yeah, I've sat in one. They're very...
They
They need an interior upgrade.
Great.
And that little V6 engine,
Yeah.
it needs an engine upgrade. Well, there's a guy in Texas that bought all the inventory and he's selling them new, but for the amount of money, I think I'd rather have a Tesla.
Yeah.
Seems like in the long run, it'll last me longer. Somebody, they had a DeLorean meetup, like a club, and somebody painted their DeLorean glossy candy apple red.
Huh.
It's kind of cool. Like, I don't know why you would paint stainless steel. But it was the only one that was painted, and that made it special for me.
Yeah.
And it was painted well.
A
Like
good,
it wasn't like
it wasn't,
spray paint. It was like a proper job.
Yeah, beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Trying to think what other movie came out that was kind of interesting to me. It seems like there is a lot of fakeness in the movies. There was that new Batwoman show that started on TV. And it starts out where she's basically underneath the water and it's ice. And she has to uncuff herself like Houdini. And then she's going to go out through the hole in the ice. And then somebody moves and blocks the hole with like a big, heavy chest.
Yeah.
And now, how much air does she have left? And she starts panicking, and then she realizes she could break through the ice. And she breaks through the ice, and then there's a sensei who she says, you covered the hole. And he's like, it took you too long. Like, she would have died.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way that's proper training procedure. And I immediately go, well, I'm not watching this show. This is already stupid. My issue is it's getting so stupid. The Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw is so over the top stupid with the stunts and the.
I turned it off after 15 minutes.
That's what I'm trying to say. I
I'm
watched
like,
about 15 minutes
and I'm
of
like,
it.
no, I'm done.
And I'm like, this motorcycle drives itself,
Yeah.
and this guy gets shot and just gets back up again. Am I watching Superman or am I watching a car enthusiast? How did a car enthusiast movie turn into this? And then I'm wondering, am I just getting older, or are these movies just really getting bad?
But I will go see the ninth and final Fast and Furious just because I've seen all 8, so I kind of want to see the last one when it
I've
comes
seen
up
all
next
8,
year.
so I'm sort of loyal to it.
Yeah. So,
And I also see the 9th and final Star Wars. The trailer looks really good. The trailer's always looking good. And the Mandalorian series, that I
Yeah.
hope they don't screw that up. It's so promising. So there's a couple things I'm looking forward to. But for the most part, most TV just sucks. Everything, you know, after you've watched LA Law, all these other law shows, you know, you had LA Law, Picket Fences, Boston Legal.
now, does this say you got to restart or no?
Yeah, we got to restart that. Thank you. It starts feeling like the same shows rehashed
Right.
over and over.
Yeah.
After you've watched ER, now there's Chicago Med. There's all these shows that are all basically the same. Grey's Anatomy, House. Okay, we've been through all this before. Or you've got Let's Follow the Kardashians. Let's Follow the Housewives of Orange County. The Bachelor. Please. There's got to be something else. I mean, RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right.
I don't get it. I don't. I guess it's fun.
Look how fast.
Growing up Chrisley, it's kind of a guilty pleasure, but it's just bad.
Let's see how fast this boots up now.
Well, it's going to apply those updates right now.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back and check for updates again.
Which, of course, there'll be some. So.
There was a show on TV that the first 2 or 3 seasons of it was on Cinemax, I think. I think it was on ITV, and then Cinemax bought it. When I was growing up, I used to read a lot of Soldier of Fortune type books. You know, the lone guy,
Okay.
the lone soldier, sort of mercenary kind of guy getting paid to take out a bad guy. And these days it's all politically incorrect, you know. So you don't see it too much. But there was a show called Strike Back, and these guys quickly would run out of ammo. It was very realistic in how they looked for shelter. They didn't just stand up and fire their gun like they're bulletproof. And that they would run out of ammo very quickly. They had to find another source of ammo, reload, you know, recharge the chamber. And I really dug that because it felt real. It felt
Yeah.
like I can get into this. I can see this happening. And yeah, there's some parts where you're like, well, I got really lucky there. Well, you know what? That's possible.
Yeah.
But in Fast and Furious, they do stuff that's just like,
Yeah.
no. You could plan that and coordinate it and still wouldn't go off. That's all computer graphics.
Well, we didn't have as many updates as, is that the big one? That is
Well, the first row of updates is sort of a bunch of updates, and then we deal with these cumulative updates afterwards, which, comparatively speaking, don't add up to everything we just did.
Yeah.
But if you're just getting updates regularly and you're used to them happening quickly, this one does take a little bit longer.
And I will have to spend the $23 to see the new Terminator at the IMAX there.
Yeah, I'm on
you
the
know,
fence
so.
about that. I'm really on the fence. They promised us good Terminator movies, the last 2.
2, yeah.
They said the last one in particular, they said we know what they did wrong and we know how to make a good movie, and it wasn't a good movie. Now, with James Cameron producing, I'm more hopeful, but he's not directing.
Right.
If James Cameron was directing, I'd
Right.
be there.
Yeah. He's too busy making 3 more
Avatars.
Avatars.
Well, then here's the thing. With James Cameron producing it, I have hope, you know, that it's going to be good. I just don't know that that's going to be enough, especially as aged as Arnold is.
Right.
But what I've seen of it, it looks good.
Yeah. And I want to see it on the biggest screen possible, you know.
Well, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Because they spend a lot of money to make those effects and all those sound effects.
Yeah.
Why not appreciate them on the loudest, biggest screen you can to see all
Yeah.
the detail?
Of course, this opening weekend will be mobbed, so I'll maybe go on Monday or something like that of next week.
I don't think it's going to be mobbed.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, what was that latest big movie? Avengers?
Infinity Wars, yeah.
Yeah, that second one. The first one I thought was terrible, part one, but part two was really good. And then prior to that, it was another movie that was mediocre at best, in my opinion. And it was giving Star Wars a run and Titanic a run for the money. I can't remember what that movie was. I was shocked that it did that well. I was shocked how well The Lion King did. The live-action Lion King.
Yeah, I didn't see it, yeah.
The actual Lion King was a great movie, but the live-action one,
yeah.
Or Cats. Who wants to see live-action?
Well, and then I've
Broadway
seen just the first 5 minutes of the live-action Aladdin, and I wasn't knocked out.
Me too. I watched about 5 minutes of it, and I'm like,
no,
I'm out.
I'd rather watch the cartoon again with Robin.
What I saw, I fast-forwarded to a part where Will Smith does a little dance routine, and that was really well done. It's very professional.
Can he sing? I mean, I know he's a rapper, but I mean, he sang. So he sang while he danced as a genie.
He's a genie. He's popping up in
Right,
pieces. He's this big, and then he's a giant, and then it's so clearly it's
right.
He's not actually, but it is him singing.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just feels like the same old. Like, oh, we're gonna do this movie again. How many times are we going to reboot Spider-Man? I think we're on reboot 4. How many times do I have to watch Batman watch his parents get shot in the alley? Oh, look, another actor's playing Batman. Oh, good.
Right.
We get to relive that scene again for the 4th time.
Got another.
Granddad47's contributed 10 pounds. He says, would you recommend Acronis Protection or MCSoft malware for my computer? Well, those are two entirely different types of protection. It's like saying, would you recommend this pesticide or this burglar alarm system? Well, they do two entirely different things. So I recommend both of them.
Restart required.
I was told, I will say, the John Wick movies have been a savior for me.
Yeah.
And I was told the Wachowski brothers or sisters now are supposed to be.
One more Matrix. Yeah.
Is it another? We were supposed to be getting together for another movie, and I can't remember what the movie was. Was it Matrix?
It's a Matrix with Keanu and Carey Moss. So that is at least promising that you've got the two leads from the first three.
You know, I'm a big fan of Speed Racer, and they just really upset me with that movie.
Right.
I saw that on a big screen and spent big money to see it, and it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I was not knocked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how many more updates after this.
We should be about done with the updates.
Yeah.
We'll check one way. Just keep repeating this until there's no more updates. Yep, we're up to date. Now what I can do, I like to optimize Windows. I like to certain settings. And so I have this little software program written by Nick Shaw over at d7xtech.com. You can buy this program for $10, but it's nothing you can't do step by step by hand. There's no magic in it. But what it does for me is it does it very, very quickly, and it ensures that I don't forget anything. So it's not only faster, but it's consistent.
Yeah.
And it's called Uncle Carey's Windows 10 Optimizer. It's $10.
And again, it does a lot. You can do these all by hand, but it...
Trying to find it. Uncle Carey. It's funny because people are probably watching this on a bigger screen than you and I could see it. I got to go full screen because I can't see. Oh, wait a minute. I see the icon. Here it is. Just drag that out here.
Again, you're talking, it does all these processes in less than a minute.
Oh, it's quick, and it's consistent. So it analyzes the system. It sees what's not optimized yet and recommends it. And it'll, like these settings in the power plan change when it detects you have a battery. So therefore you have a laptop. That's disabling indexing. You'll see a lot of like access denied stuff for files that are in use. It's normal and it's fine. And then for these settings to take effect, you've got to reboot. Now let's see how fast it reboots. This motherboard has really great RGB on it. It's too bad this case has no window. The link for Uncle Carey's Windows 10 Optimizer is in the video notes below the video. It's just a download, it's $10, and anytime we update it, you get your updates for free, but you have to go and grab the updates. You have to look for updates. So if I go back and run this again, it says everything's already optimized, you don't have to run it. But maybe I want to undo some of the optimizations. I can right click and to choose to undo them. And I can go up here to options. There's only one option, and that's to check for updates. And it'll make sure that we're running the latest version. And I always recommend you run it off the desktop. Some people, they try and update it off the flash drive, and then it fails. And I'll talk to Nick about it. I don't know why it does that. So I always run it off the desktop, and then when I'm done, I just delete it. And there's no activation on it. You can run it on as many machines as you want. You can run it on all your friends' computers. All I'm asking you is you don't give it out. Because if you give it out, then it's taking $10 potentially from me. Let them buy their own copy, you know, if for no other reason than just be cool to me. But as long as you're using your copy, you can use it on every computer you ever see.
Yep.
So doesn't bother me one bit. And that's why there's no activation, there's no serial number, because I don't want to do that.
Anything else on this machine besides, you know, your wire tie or your, you know, cable management? That
Well, again, we've got to hook the optical drive's got to get hooked up. The rear case fan's got to be plugged in. The cable management has to be done. And there's some Intel SSD software which we can download. So if we bring up the browser, and usually I'll change the browser homepage to Google and the search engine to Google. So I'll do that later. It's not really an optimization, that's more of a preference. But if we go to Google and we'll type in Intel SSD Toolbox, it's a free download. You'll see that the SSD didn't come with any software or instructions. It says download Intel Solid State Drive Toolbox. That's what we want. The firmware, if there's a firmware update, it's part of the toolbox. It doesn't go online and check. So if you're not running the latest toolbox, then you'll say, oh, I never have a firmware update. So from time to time, you want to make sure that you've got, like this is 3.5.11 or whatever. You want to make sure that, like that came out in May of this year. That's a zip file. Here's the executable file. We'll just accept the license terms and run it. And I'll show you what this looks like. It's very different from Samsung Magician. Close this out. Nigel Baptiste has contributed $5. He says, have you seen the movie Joker? No, I've not seen it yet. Looks good. I'm not a fan of Joaquin Phoenix. If it had been anybody else, I probably would have seen it. Just not a fan of that guy. So when it's streaming, I'll watch it. It is a movie I want to see, just not one I want to pay that much to see. Because going out to the movies with me and my wife, popcorn, you know, we're looking at 30, 40, $40. So, all right, let's install the SSD toolbox. And we'll run the software. When you have a solid state drive, it's important that you, in order to maintain your performance, it gets trimmed, what we call a trim. Now Windows 10 will do this automatically, but nothing beats getting it directly from the manufacturer. So if you look through here, we have a number of options, and let me make this bigger, Mitch, so you can see what I'm talking about here. No, that doesn't do me much good, does it? Let's try that again. I'm on a roll here. I'm getting the wrong screen. People are like, I don't see anything yet. We're looking at a master feed. You guys can't see that. Oh, I want to view this full screen. Here we go. So you see it's got a quick diagnostic scan over here.
Okay.
It takes about 3 minutes. I don't really need it. It's a brand new drive.
Right.
There's a full diagnostic. Some things are kind of weird. There's a secure erase, which is never really secure despite what they say. There's the firmware update. It says the updates are included in this version of the software.
Okay.
We can check for updates right down here. We're running 3511. Minimize reboot this machine to update process. What if we hit update? Doesn't even, there's nothing.
Right.
There should be a way that it tells us our current. Check for updates, look for a newer version of the toolbox, which may include newer firmware. There's the system tuner.
Okay.
A lot of this has been tuned with Uncle Carey's Windows Optimizer,
Yeah.
which is why it's already set. System information, this is about our,
Yeah.
it's pretty self-explanatory. I thought for sure there was a way. Oh, go up here to Intel SSD Optimizer, the very top thing.
Okay.
And it says, optimize Intel SSDs using trim function. The latest firmware must be installed for this tool. Check firmware update to make sure Intel recommends running the Intel SSD Optimizer once a week. Now it's a brand new drive, there's really nothing on it. We can run it, we can schedule it. So you can click schedule and add this. And this is an important one, to clear the internal cache of the solid state drive after a period of time to boost its performance. And it only takes a moment, and you'll see that it'll get to 100% here momentarily. There's nothing in the cache right now, very little, but after the customer has this for a while, if they start noticing a decrease in performance, this would be some of the steps you might follow to bring that performance back with a solid state drive. And that's true of all solid state drives. How the manufacturers provide you this, or if they, like AData doesn't seem to provide this, I could be wrong. Certainly Samsung does, obviously Intel does, and I'm not sure about other manufacturers. SanDisk has their own little toolbox. It generally does not come bundled with the drive. You've got to go to the manufacturer's website to see what tools are available, and generally they don't hurt anything by having them. Now, without running any of these tools, Windows 10 will take care of it at a minimal level. You'll see that just took a little longer to run than I thought, but it just takes a moment. And then I can dismiss one drive, dismiss account protection. There we go. And that's still running in the background. And you'll see it's got the little circle up here,
Yeah.
letting you know it's working. We're at 68%. We're nearly there.
I'm jealous. It's a heck of a machine.
2 terabytes of storage is nothing to sneeze at.
Yep.
All right, if you guys have any questions in the chat room, this will be the time to ask. Vince and I will do our best to provide you with answers. I just want to go back. I thought there was a way to see what firmware version there was. But that's just grayed out. And this one just seems to open up for the toolbox. I thought there was a way that it checks it and it says, oh yeah, like it verifies it. I can't remember how I got to that screen now. Should be more obvious. Firmware update. Yeah. We'll run the quick diagnostic just for the sake of doing it, so you guys can see what that looks like. Well, that was a lot shorter than 3 minutes. Full diagnostic obviously is going to take more time. System tuner. System information. So because it's not going online to look for firmware updates, it's looking within the software to see what firmware is built into the software. The update button is just simply grayed out. But I thought it would tell me my firmware version. But another way you can look at your firmware version of any drive is you just go to your computer, click on this PC, right click on whatever drive you want to check and go to properties. Go up here to hardware, and you'll list all of your drives. This is the Intel. And I double click on that and I can go to details. And usually right within here we can see the firmware version, hardware ID. It's usually part of the hardware ID, or it's see, all this information about the drive is in here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it was under hardware ID, I thought. Yeah, usually it's part of the hardware ID. But until I have another firmware to look at the version, I'm not exactly sure what format their firmware numbers follow. Driver date, well, I'm worried about the driver. I'm sure it's not a driver from 2000. It said 2006, I'm pretty sure.
Should we, can I close this to save the battery?
It's not on.
Oh, okay.
That other camera is powered off. All right, guys, so let's turn this machine off. Let's do this. Let's wrap this up for right now, because we've pretty much done what we need to do. And we'll go back to camera 1. There we go. AORS Jeffrey said 31 gig only used at a fresh install. That's something else you can do, by the way. After a fresh install, if we turn this, do me a favor, turn this machine back on. I want to show everybody something real quick. Ray Bowman's contributed $5. He says, I just purchased Uncle Carey's Windows 10 optimizer and give the dog some biscuits already. It's close to their dinner time, about 20 minutes. We don't want to feed them cookies before dinner. When Mitch came in, he had to give them cookies, so we're going to have little wobbling dogs if we keep feeding them. Thank you, though. They will get them. They'll get them after dinner.
Okay, so the computer's powered up. What are we going to see here? You do?
So after you do a clean Windows 10 install, and we're looking at how much drive space is being used, so if we look, let me just show you here. Right now, they mentioned we were using 31 gigs. Let's right-click, go on Properties on the C drive. And yeah, 31.6, right?
Okay.
Okay, well, we downloaded all those Windows updates and stuff. There's a lot of detritus hanging around, installation files. So one of the things you can do is type in the word storage, S-T-O...
It's not working.
Oh, wrong keyboard, Carey. S-T-O-R... And right down here it says storage settings.
Yep.
You hit enter. And this is why tools like CCleaner, Glary, stuff like that don't have to be used anymore. If you make sure this is turned on, which my optimizer turned on for you,
Right.
I do make a little change to it though. Right up here it says configure storage sense. So my optimizer turns storage sense on, which eventually Microsoft's going to be turning that on by default.
Right.
Configure it right here.
Okay.
And instead of waiting until you're low on disk space, I say you should run this every month.
Right.
And then it says, do you want to delete temporary files? Yes. Do you want to delete files in your recycle bin that have been over for 30 days? Yes. Do you want to delete files in your downloads folder? No. Do you want to start this cleaning now? Yes. So right now, it is doing what CCleaner would be doing as far as cleaning up temp files.
And does this take, depending on the...
If you've never done it before, this could take a couple hours. If it's a brand new build, you see it's already done.
Yeah.
Now, when I look back at how much space are we using now, we were at 30, what were we at? 31.6.
Yeah.
We didn't lose much.
Right.
We lost maybe a gig, I think. Was it at 34 or half a gig?
Yeah.
Not a big difference, but still freed up some space.
Yeah.
It didn't cost anything and it was quick. It's also good for security, just to wipe out history, right? It's just noise. If you need to do data recovery and you've got all this crap you didn't want, well, that's all gone now. Let's get the main camera back. Hold on, guys. We're going to get the main camera. There we go. Jeremy Kramer's contributed $10. He says, Carey, it's great to see Mitch is back. Is there some kind of rule of thumb to determine how much memory to add to a computer? So a lot of people confuse memory and storage, right? So think of storage as your closet and think of memory as the body, the clothes the body can wear,
Okay.
right? So RAM is often referred to as memory, and hard drive is often referred to as storage. Just like a closet would be storage, and your body would be wearing, you would take things out of the storage, but you wouldn't take everything out and put it all on. You don't have enough body for that. So when it comes to computers, there reaches a point of diminishing returns when it comes to how much space do you need or how much RAM do you have. There's always a point of diminishing returns. When it comes to RAM, the minimal amount that I recommend on any machine is 8 gigabytes. The optimal amount for most people is 16 gigabytes. And if someone's a real heavy, likes to have a lot of windows open at the same time, 32 gigabytes. For you to require more than 32 gigabytes of RAM would be very unusual, but you would already know that. You wouldn't ask me. You would know that this super high-end software that you're using requires it. You wouldn't be asking me about it. So the fact that you're asking me suggests to me that you would be best optimized at 16. If you can't afford it, don't go any less than 8. If you have built-in video, like we're running off the graphics card built into the CPU, that takes some of our RAM. So you might say, well, I have 8, but it says there's only 7 available because a gig is being used for your onboard video. If you have a discrete graphics card, that won't be the case. And they say it shares memory, but it's really stealing, right? So the video card has to have its own memory. If it's a built-in video card, it's sharing the RAM with your system, and that's why you're seeing a lower number. That being said, even still, 8 gigs or 16, I think 16 is preferable since it's probably more than you need, and it gives you room to grow. Heavy, intense user with lots of applications open at the same time, 32 gigs.
Okay.
When you see me put systems together with 64 gigs or 128 gigs, those people are specifically telling me, against my advice, that's what they want. And so that's what I give them. Okay. Now, some of these people are using some pretty high-end workstation level, MATLAB and
CAD
and stuff like that. And even then, I'm not quite sure they're even utilizing that because it might be more graphics card dependent. It's really hard to say. It's their money, and if that's what they want, that's what I'll do. But if you only have 2 gigs of RAM, your system's going to suck. 4 gigs of RAM, it's going to drag. 8 gigs of RAM, it's going to be pretty good. 16, it's going to fly. 32, you probably won't notice a difference. And anything beyond that, you won't notice it. You'll notice it in your wallet, but it won't make any difference in your reality. And it offers up opportunities for more RAM to go bad. The more RAM you have, the more likely you'll have a bad one, right? If I have 10 hard drives, my chances of having a bad one are 10 times greater than somebody who's got 1.
Yep.
So, same with storage. You can buy a 14 terabyte hard disk drive. They're available. But if you're somebody who very rarely, saves data to your machine, or you don't save much on your machine, if you're only using less than a terabyte now, getting into a 14 terabyte would be, in my opinion, a huge mistake. People say, well, I just want the biggest and fastest thing I can get. Well, go to SSD. The biggest and fastest SSDs are 2 terabyte. And I've yet to really run into anybody that is a customer of mine that says 2 terabytes is not enough. In most cases, if you're filling up 2 terabytes, you need to offload that somewhere else. That's a lot of eggs in one basket. Having a 14 terabyte hard drive might be great if you're into video editing and you have a lot of projects and these projects are very large. There are exceptions, right? But in general, the overall population, 16 gigs of RAM is plenty. 8 is enough. Did I just say 8 is enough?
Yeah.
Dick Van Patten is looking down from heaven right now going,
Yeah.
Yes? Hello?
Yeah.
Someone remembers me?
Yeah. He's tired. It's time to go.
Someone mentions they have extra RAM to use a RAM disk. Again, those people know why they have extra RAM, right? What did I just say? I said if you have more than that, it's because you know you need more than that. If you have to ask me, then you don't need it. So it's unnecessary to tell me why you have more, because you know why you have more, which is what I already said. Okay.
About that time, Uncle Carey?
I'm sleeping standing up.
Should we wrap it up?
Carey, what do you think of the new Intel i9-9900KS? So that's going to run all the cores at 5 gigahertz. Every single core will run at 5 gigahertz. It's something. I kind of feel Intel's not really innovating here. They're just taking product they've already got and spitting on it, polishing it a little bit, and going, there, we just put another letter on it. And I'd like to see Intel try a little harder. I think it's a great idea, but I'm not excited. I'm like, hey, look, they're putting better tires on that Camaro now. Oh. You know, they changed the speedometer. Now it goes up to 140 now instead of 120. Okay. It's still the same car though, right?
Yep.
So anyway, I'm not real excited about it. I mean, it's a step in the right direction, but it's a little tiny step. Matthew says, thanks for the hints to save me money. Ooh, I'm taking my PC to a shop I learned by watching your videos. Great, well, that's why we're here. I am poor and I would love some free parts. Well, when I get some free parts, I'll let you know, but nobody's given me any parts and I don't have free parts to give away for free. Everything you see here is paid for by somebody. Nobody's just saying, here, have a bunch of parts for free. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all these parts?
Right.
So life is kind of interesting that way. The people who work and earn typically have more stuff than the people who don't. And no matter what your excuse is, you are fully capable of figuring it out rather than asking people, what about the new Gen 10 CPUs? Yeah, good question. Where are they? Am I using the wrong mouse? I am. So I want to get through as many of these questions as possible. We can wrap this up. I like to wrap up at 5. We're about 10 minutes away. When is the next Christopher Lloyd and John Lovett's Good Time Computer Show scheduled? Which one of us? Are you Christopher Lloyd? And I'm John Lovett's, right?
Right.
You're not old enough to be Christopher Lloyd.
When is the next one?
Marty.
When somebody does a build, I'm
When
going.
somebody wants to pay for a build, exactly.
Yeah.
All these are all customer owned parts. We're just building the computers. We're not selling the computers. We're putting them together correctly. Wire management, software install, driver install, proper tune-up optimization. That's all.
Yeah. Somebody may, with Christmas coming up, the holidays, somebody may want to build, for their kids or wife, niece, nephew, things like that. So
Marty's just contributed $20. He says, "Thank you, you two." Well, thank you too.
Two,
Marty.
I'm jealous of your build.
Yeah, he's got that last one I built for him.
Yeah.
Was in that Be Quiet case.
Yeah.
Nice rig.
Right.
Not that this is anything to shake a stick
Right.
at, but it's in a plain case compared to that other. Robert Zimmerman says, bye from Maine. See you later, guys. Great stream. Thank you, Robert. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Love the Toto shirt. Well, thank you. It's one of 38 that I own. I had to get one for every day of the month since the band officially retired a couple of weeks ago, so I'll have to treat them very carefully before we convince them to come back.
Will it be safe to use Windows 7 for a little longer after 2020? So Windows 7 support ends about January 14th, I think. So just a couple months away.
I wouldn't use
It's over 13 years old. The internet, over 300,000 new viruses are released each and every day. And when support stops for Windows 7, you'll only have your antivirus. You won't be able to protect yourself against inner threats from installed applications. In general, there would be no reason for anybody to tell you that's safe to use unless they want to open themselves up to a potential lawsuit, which I would never want to do. I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't know what's going to happen to you if you continue to use it. And just using the latest operating system is not a guarantee either. But I think it's absolutely foolish, in my opinion, to use an operating system that's over a decade old. I'm not on the internet, because the hackers that attack you will be using the latest equipment. I promise you, the hackers are using the latest equipment. And you're going up there basically every day after support ends, you will be weaker than the day before. It's only a matter of time. How much time? You tell me.
And I liked Windows 10. I mean, I fought against it like a lot of people did. I was comfortable with Windows 7. I knew how to use it. I liked the interface. But once I finally made the switch, it took some getting used to, an adjustment, but I like it now.
It's not a major adjustment.
Right.
I've never had anybody tell me that I have encountered in person, just mysterious ghosts online, but that oppose it. The people that have had the most concern were like, I didn't realize it's not that what I thought it would be. It's like the very little learning curve. It looks a little bit different, but everything's where I expected. It actually works a little faster, and I'm glad I did it. I wish I'd have done it sooner. That is universally what I hear from the people that I've installed it for. Never once has anybody ever said, I hate this, take it off.
Right.
In real life. Only on the internet do I see that.
Yeah.
So there's some,
Yeah.
I want to say wackadoodles, but maybe, you know what I like? I like the old-fashioned way when you used to store your meat outside, not with these fancy refrigerators.
Yeah.
We just spiced it up to get rid of the moldy taste.
I'll ask you a question, Carey. Did you ever attempt to use that Windows 8 with the tiles when that version came out? Because to be honest, I never did. I tried it for about a
so
week.
there were two different desktops
Yeah.
on Windows 8. It drove me batty. And
I hated it.
Here's the thing. So Corey Fruitman, who's the founder and creator of Instant House Call, it's like, tiles are the greatest thing ever. And I was like, are you on something? He's like, I will show you and I will prove it to you. So this was at a convention in Chicago back in, was this in Chicago? Might have been before that, because if it was Windows 8, yeah, it had to be before Chicago. Anyway, it was at a convention, maybe it was 2012. And Corey said, let me show you how great these tiles are. Let me show you why I love them as a developer. And I said, yeah, Corey, but you have this issue and this issue, and what about this and what about that? And he goes, yeah, but. And I go, but no, yeah, but this is what the problem is, Corey. He goes, well, you need to forget all that. You need to forget all that because everything's going this way. Well, guess what? Microsoft reversed course on that. It's not going that way, Corey.
Right.
So the best way I can explain it is Corey got it. And he was so excited about getting it. He was like, every opportunity to show people. And even after showing me, I still didn't get it. I'm like, Corey, I'm still not getting this. I don't know what you're so excited about. This seems limited. This seems, and I can't remember all the excuses, but
Right.
I just fired him off. I'm like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And his attitude was, you've got to shift your thinking away from that. And I'm like, you can't give me both.
Right.
You can't say you do it this way on this left side of the screen and this way on the right side of the screen. You need to pick a way and stick with it. And right now, I don't see any benefit to having to give up the way I already know to learn a way I don't. So that there's a benefit in that for me other than what, lost time? So I can continue to do the things I've always done before, but now I've got to figure out another way to accomplish it. And so we went round and round and round, and he was getting frustrated that I wasn't getting it, and I was getting frustrated that he wasn't accepting what I was telling him.
Right.
But eventually that problem solved itself, and that's Microsoft backed away from the tiles. Even the start menu on Windows 10 isn't as big as it used to be. They keep trying to make it look like a cell phone.
Right.
That's the problem. And Microsoft dropped the ball on cell phone operating systems. You got pretty much Android leading the pack there, or maybe Apple, but mostly I think it's Android is commanding that market. You've got Windows commanding a lot of the business infrastructure around the world. And Microsoft certainly wanted that cell phone business. They really wanted it, but thank God they didn't get it because it'd be attacked constantly. It wouldn't be as secure as Android is currently. And it's good to have competition. It's good that Microsoft failed miserably in that. And they were late. You know, everything was still flip phones. They weren't sure smartphones were really going to take off. They didn't really put the amount of effort into it that they should have. I think Bezos wanted a piece of that market too, which I wouldn't mind seeing either. But the good news is They all pretty much, Apple, Android, iOS, whatever, Linux, they're all spying on you. Your ISP is spying on you. Your cell phone's probably the worst thing that's spying on you. So all these people that claim Microsoft is doing it worse, they're actually not as bad as what your cell phone is doing. And that's Android. So anyway, any other questions that I'm missing?
No.
Mitch, are you a member of SAG?
I am, yeah.
Screen Actors
Screen Actors Guild, yeah. And for the people, there's a website called IMDb, which is short for Internet Movie Database. You can go on that, type in Mitch Morrison. My page comes up, scroll down, and you'll see a little clip that's 2 minutes long that I shot about 10 days ago, where I'm acting with a guy in a bar. And I'll warn you, there is adult language, but I wanted to have one more clip, acting clip, with my long hair before I cut it off here in 2 days on Friday when I go back to short hair. So that's your answer, and it is 5 o'clock, so should we wrap?
Yeah, there's some very specific questions people are having with what looks like old obsolete hardware. And usually old obsolete hardware is going to create problems. That's part of the issue, is it's old. But if you're looking for specific help with a particular problem, understand that you may not be able to fix all problems. Some problems may require tools or equipment that you would have to buy that may be worth more than the cost of whatever the machine is, and you could use that money to buy a new machine or take that somewhere where those people have those tools and can do that for you. Now, I don't know. There's a couple of people asking some very vague questions. I would suggest go to TechGuy, TechGuy.org for any free technical support with hardware, software, anything. Apple, Linux, Windows, they do it all there. It's all volunteer based. It's all free. They've been doing it for about 20 years. TechGuy.org is a free support site. There's a link to it in the video notes at the very bottom of the video notes. You'll find that link. It's always been there for years. Certainly no harm in asking the chat room. People in the chat may have suggestions for you as well. But certainly nothing. Sometimes people ask a question that involves 30 or 45 minute. Does it do this? What is it this? What's the hardware? What's the version? What's the RAM? What's the storage? What's the operating system? When's the last time it worked? When did it stop working? So then it just becomes me and you, and the other 800 people, 900 people watching are like, I guess we're all just getting ignored now. So that's why you won't see me address all of the questions, because they require a bit more one-on-one consultation for details. But you can handle that online for free at techguy.org. And of course, for others in the chat who wish to participate, I'm not the only one who has answers. So, don't think if the answer doesn't come from me, it's no good. That's certainly not true at all.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
So, thank you guys for tuning in. It was a great build, and I hope the close-ups help some of you newbies who are afraid to build your computer. Just jump right in, take your time, enjoy, savor the building process, and there's a pride that comes from building it yourself and showing your friends. Look, this isn't difficult. 5, 6 different parts, like Carey has always said. Take your time, put it in, boom, new machine. It's great. I've got 3 desktops going. I want to build one more, maybe for my birthday next year. Maybe another one. I'd like to try a little one. Not the super little, but not what's the but you've got full
ITX.
Tower, half tower, mid tower,
and
then what's the little one? Not the super, but kind of just a box.
You've got mini ITX or ITX.
Okay.
Which will be like a cube. You've got micro ATX.
Which is
Wait, hold on. Am I missing one? No, the cube is not mini ITX. Mini ITX would be like that train computer I built that looks like a train.
Right. Yeah.
That would be mini ITX. The board's about yay big.
Yeah.
And then you go to, forget the other form factor where the boards are like almost Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, that's still
real small. That's like Intel NUC level,
Right.
bricks, stuff like that. Yeah, well, listen.
So thanks, guys, for
when's the last
tuning
time
in.
you were here? It seems like it's been a while.
Wasn't that build back in was it early September?
September. That was the last time you were here. It was the repair that came.
Right.
Up. That was the one you and I last
built.
So the first week of September.
Yeah.
Well, it's been about 6
Yeah.
weeks. That's not bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah,
and
no
working with
problem.
me today and hanging out.
Let's go grab a bite and clean up this stuff we have here that we've thrown on the floor. And
Lyle's probably ready for his dinner.
yeah, micro and mini. So micro is the really tiny. Mini is a board that's okay, that goes in a kind of a square case. So I've got enough full towers and mids that I'd kind of like to something that can either fit on the desk or under very nicely, and so I think that would be kind of my next one.
Hey,
so,
you know
yeah.
what? We get a small form factor power supply with a solid state M.2 drive. You really don't need much space if everything's getting saved on the NAS, on the
Right.
Synology, and as long as you're not wanting to put a big old honking video card in there,
No.
you're fine.
No, I don't game, so there you go. So thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Wait,
And,
wait.
yeah.
I want to relive that conversation a little bit. Just real briefly, we talked about. You said you don't game, but you kind of want to, and you kind of don't want to.
Yeah,
Explain that just real quickly, and then we're going to go. Your concern is
that I'll get addicted to gaming.
Right.
Yeah, that suddenly you get the headphones going and you're gaming with people all over the world.
You're like, I should have went to bed 2 hours ago.
Yeah, and it's just you suddenly are days and hours, and as an adult to have to limit yourself like a kid to only 1 hour a night. I don't know. I would love to try it.
I think you should try it.
Yeah, try it.
And it's up to you to decide
Right.
to control your addiction.
Yeah.
But if you show up here one day and you smell bad and your hair's all messed up and your beard's all grown
Right.
out, I'll know
No.
you got a PS4.
Yeah. So then, like you said, the worst case, try it. If you're not, sell it or give it to a niece or nephew.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, you still might. You just need to find the right genre of game.
Right.
Right. And maybe not first-person shooters are your
Yeah.
thing. Maybe you like driving games. Maybe you like the RPG game. Maybe you like the strategy game. Maybe you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll have to buy a few. There's a little bit of a financial investment, but it's not much different than, like, you go to see a ticket to a show like the Blue Man Group. It's like $120 for a ticket.
Yeah.
Well, for $120 you can buy 2 games.
Yeah.
Or you can go down to the rental store and rent the games and figure out if you like them to buy them.
Right.
Maybe you're a Grand Theft Auto guy. Maybe you're a Red Dead Redemption guy. Maybe you're a Destiny guy. Maybe you're a Call of Duty guy. Call of Duty just came out, 25th, just a couple days ago.
Well, and what kind of lures me
Black
to
Ops.
this, guys, is that I have a screening room in my house, so I have a rear projector with a 120-inch diameter screen with 7.1 surround sound. So some of these games are so immersive.
You're going to break your neck. You're going to be like...
Yeah, that I just think, it would be that you are there.
It's too big.
Yeah, it's too big, but...
Maybe if you sit really far at the back.
Right. But we'll see. I mean, I would like to either try an
Gears
Xbox.
of War is a lot of fun.
Yeah. So.
Gears of War 5. And then what's a lot of fun is you get on and I get on, and we work together to try and take out the enemy together.
Right.
Then we're talking to each other, like, you go left, I'll go right. And then it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, yeah, I've been trying to say I need to go to bed for 4 hours now.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a couple nights like that. But overall, then you can decide the next day, like, I'm not touching it today.
Right.
Because you're right. Once you're involved in it, you feel like you got to complete it.
Yep.
Yeah. So these are real dilemmas, people, that you face when you get older, and you're like, it's not that I don't want to game. It's not that I can't afford to game. It's what am I doing instead of gaming?
Yeah, Dale, you're right. I definitely am a Toto guy. Let's see. In the 41 years they were together, I think I saw them, I'm guessing 38 or 39 times in concert. I've met the boys at least on 6 different occasions. I do stand-up comedy only wearing Toto shirts so that even if they don't know my name, anyone would say, that comic that only wears the Toto shirts, any other comic will go, I know exactly who that is, because that's only one guy, Mitch Morrison, and so, they're
It's like
really,
a brand for you.
Yeah, it's like a brand. So
It's not your band, but you're making it your brand.
Right.
Well, you're just showing your support.
Yeah. But hey, guys, thanks so much for tuning in.
Thanks
Great build, and we'll live to do it another day.
Let's hope
if somebody wants a build, Carey will let me know, and we'll be happy to build it and get you those close-ups that people certainly like.
And thanks to Marty it's his computer we're building, so for enabling this opportunity and for his contributions during today's session. Jeremy Kramer, Larry Kane, Ray Bowman, as well as Nigel Baptiste, Granddad 47, Gary Tatum, Larry Kane, numerous times here, as well as Nick Marangas, Mark Y, and Ben Fitzpatrick, Christopher Raybone, CCTV user, John Yasuda, Michael Martin, James Griffin, as well as Alexander K, Prophet Jr., 1970, Chester Hughes, David Starbuck, Randall Hill, Heinrich Anderson, Glenn Davies, and the first contribution was from Jan Giddings. Thanks to all of you
thanks
for supporting the channel through your contributions. Also for people in blue that have been helping keep it civil in there today. And of course to everybody who tuned in and watched. Thanks you guys for being a part of this community. And we look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Until then, what do I say?
I say peace out.
Peace. You say thumbs up,
Thumbs
right
up.
on your face.
Thank you.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
You got to do all that boilerplate nonsense.
Yeah.
Click the bell.
And enjoy the rest of your day
Now
wherever
I've
you
done
live in
what
the world.
everybody else does, so I feel like I'm part of the group.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye for now. Enjoy the, I almost said enjoy the weekend. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah. You are tired. Okay.
Yeah. I got it.